Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Jury
Hello.
Duty.
Hello, 13th jurors. Hello. It is good to see y'all again after having a much needed evening off. Thank you for letting us have that because it was very much needed.
Yes.
Before we even get started, I have something really special we have to get out of the way. Today is my number one person, my best friend. It's her birthday. My nanny. I love me, my nanny. So I had to tell my nanny happy birthday. She and I have always been very, very close. And I used to tell everybody when I was young, when I was little, that when me and Nanny turned 18, we were going to get an apartment together. So she's always been my BFF. So happy birthday, Nanny. I love you very much. I love her.
She looks lovely.
She's amazing. Had to get that out of the way.
Well, shall we introduce our guest?
Yes, please.
Well, you know him. You know him from a podcast called Defense Diaries. Also featured on like Court TV and Law and Crime, a lot of places.
Everywhere.
Commenting on a ton of different cases and trials. I'll just bring him in. Everybody, welcome Bob Motta.
What's up, y'all?
Hey, Bob.
Hello, sir.
Hey, what's up? Hey,
we love our
opening is fire. It's awesome.
It is, isn't it?
It's amazing. It was like some Hollywood production value shit, man. Seriously. And happy birthday, Brandi's nanny.
Happy birthday to my nanny.
That's
I
awesome.
love her so much.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a surrogate mom, For real.
It's true.
It is.
She's
true.
the best. This is new. Our little things. Those looked new.
Yeah, I changed it, and then I didn't like it. Did you like it? Did you like that?
I like whatever you like. It's just different. Look, you can tell. Like Bob's talking about the opening
like
and stuff. You
political answer. Super dramatic. I like JT.
I like either, but like JT is like the tech one. It's like you're talking about the opening, and I'm like, yeah, it's awesome. I had nothing to do with it. Literally zero to do with it. Nothing at all. That is all JT. He does all of our tech stuff, and he does such a good job. So,
dude's killing the game, man. Dude is killing the game. Hey, everyone. I see y'all saying hi. Hi, everyone. It's too many for me to go through you guys individually, but what's up to all of you? It's good to see you again, and it's awesome to hang out with my two homies. I'm excited.
Yes.
We got all kinds of stuff going on out there in the crazy true crime world.
All kinds of stuff. This has been a busy week, a busy few days,
yeah.
and I know we have a lot to talk about. So we can kind of get into it. We have this thing, Bob, where we like to say hello to the first, second, and third people in our chat, and it started out with like just the first one, and then like our. Is that your puppy?
Yeah, I think he probably sees a squirrel.
Oh.
I bark at squirrels too. It's fine.
I mean, so do I, but he like really barks at squirrels. We have like a bit of a squirrel infestation in our house. It's like one got into the attic. It's kind of a nightmare. Like it woke me up at 5 a.m. But this one's outside. So, all right, relax. All right, I'm going to shut the door. You guys keep talking.
Oh, big doggy. Yes, yeah, not Lucy.
Yeah, that was not a Lucy bark. That was not.
No, he's a big guy. He's a big guy, but he's like the sweetest dude ever.
Too cute. So we want to give a quick shout out to our first, second, third in chat. So you get your imaginary throne to Portland Trailblazers TV. I think was our first in chat. Yes, first in chat. Portland
for
Trailblazers.
Both days.
For both days, yes, because we had our stuff set up for yesterday, and then we ended up quick change of plans and had to take the night. But so Portland Trailblazers TV, you get 2 imaginary crowns and 2 imaginary thrones. Second was
yesterday.
Yeah, we'll do second for yesterday. Hope, you get your top hat and your 1975 bar stool. for being second yesterday. And then today, who was second today? We had, I think, is it Virginia? Yep, Virginia Little. So thank you for showing up early. And then we have third for yesterday was Law Nerd Amber. You get your imaginary beanbag and your sun hat. And then third for today.
That's awesome.
Third for today was Ivan. Yep, Ivan. So congratulations to y'all, and thank you for continuing to show up and chat and tailgate, pregame, all that stuff. We love the pregame. And then a quick update on our little bitty channel is just growing and growing. We're up to 5,929 subs, I think, and then 536 members. That's nuts. That's
awesome. That's awesome.
So cool.
Well deserved. It's amazing.
So cool. Yes.
It's super cool.
And we have one more quick announcement before we get started on everything. We have our very first cult baby. So welcome to the world. Is Dean in here right now? I don't know if he's in here. He might be busy with
I would have possibly.
Look, he's been bringing people into the world, so he might not be here. But congratulations to Dean for and to our new little cult baby. We have a new cult baby.
Yes, and her middle name's Justice.
Yes, he said he was making her middle name Justice because we're all the Justice junkies. So that's amazing. So exciting.
I told him after he sent me a photo and sent me the name, I was like, I really hope that you all decided upon this together as one, a unit. But yes.
I mean,
that's
there's
amazing.
Not more like adorable things in the world than a cult baby. You know what I'm saying?
I know. Right?
Good as it gets. Cult baby. Like, you guys need a theme song for that for sure. For everybody that has cult baby, like little sound effects.
Yes.
I'll do the singing. I'll do the thing. I'll do like my deep voice singing thing of like cult baby.
All right, Frank.
Hey.
All right, Frank.
Hey.
That's
and then real
awesome.
quick, Ricky Watson gifted a membership. So thank you, Ricky, very, very much. And Texas Mama Bear got it. So welcome to the cult. Watch out because apparently baby stuff's in the Kool-Aid. So be careful.
Yes.
But hey. All right. You want to get started on talking about everything?
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, wait, we have one more thing, don't we? We have one more piece.
We have one more piece. Okay, so Bob Motta, I don't know if you've seen our Trial Daddies calendar.
I have.
We have a new entry that we were going to show, and it's up on the website 13thjuror.live, so y'all can do with it what you will.
Are they all cops? Are all of them cops?
Not all of them are cops. It started out with hot cops, and now it's hot cops and trial daddies. So
okay, all right, good. I wanted to all right. Yeah, I mean, those guys are like cops.
Well, in this case, was this submitted through the website?
Yeah. Well, yes. One of them was submitted. Yeah, I mean, it was submitted through the website, but I also had some of these submissions through my Twitter and I don't even know how else. Like carrier pigeon. Everybody was trying to get me the Londonderry cops. So it started out with the one in the middle was testifying in a trial, and then when they went to go pull up his picture to get a better look at him, then all of the Londonderry police officers just started coming up. So the month of June 2024 is now Londonderry police officers, just all of them.
I mean, maybe that's like one of their prerequisites. They have to be extremely attractive men.
Yeah.
You got to be at least like an 8.5 to be on this force.
Some of our members were saying that they were going to take a road trip to Londonderry and go start breaking laws. So good luck to y'all on that. I know a good criminal defense attorney if y'all need one.
Bob needs his own month. We need to get Bob a month.
I mean,
that's what we need.
Dude, like I wouldn't reject it. It's like I'll talk all kinds of shit until like I have a month. Then it's like, hey,
All right.
Amazing. I think I'm too old though. I'm like, I'm not. It looks like a young man's game. The old trial daddies, but whatever. I'm holding my own, old bastard.
Dean says that his child's first words were "Sit down, John Thomas."
Yeah.
Did he whisper? Did he whisper? Hey,
sit down,
John Thomas. John Thomas, I'm going to whisper all my questions to you.
Oh, who does not miss John Thomas's voice? I don't miss his voice. I don't miss his heavy breathing. I don't miss his snarkiness.
And I don't miss that he's either Drew Carey, like heavy Drew Carey, or Chris Farley. Like he's one of the two. It's like
I said Chris Farley.
One of those two dudes. Like he's definitely one of those two. Like
Yeah.
No, what I don't miss is like really shitty lawyering. Like that was
yes.
I mean, ultimately it played out because we all wanted Lori to go down. So
right.
Like I'm not sad about it. Like the thing that pissed me off the most is, we were doing like all these episodes, like trying to handle like every witness and every day and like having to wait until 6 o'clock at night and then listen to 5 hours of testimony. And then Alice and I would run to the studio and record like 3 a.m. shit. And like, they never asked any questions on cross-examination. So they just flew through all the witnesses like way, way faster than we ever anticipated.
Yeah.
So like that, I really, really hate him.
All of our, I remember that the prosecution, they ended, they closed off their case in chief. And then the defense got up and all of like our mods like sent a message was like, the defense is done already. They didn't even start. And Brandi and I were like, oh my God, what do we do?
So we're like, oh crap, we're in verdict watch.
Dude, I think we were still in New Orleans. So like every year we go for Jazz Fest, and it's 2 weekends and, sandwiched between what they call the days between. And Jazz Fest isn't jazz music. It's like Lizzo was a headliner, like Dead and Company. It's like all the biggest bands in the world. And like all of the greatest musicians in the world all descend upon New Orleans for this like 10 days. And like Alice and I decided to do it. Like the whole damn thing. Like we had our kids watched, like my sister-in-law flew in from Philly and like watched for the first week or first like half. And then our oldest daughter, who's 28, came and stayed at the house and she watched for the second. And we were thinking, you know what? We're still going to record. Like we'll get shit done. Like knowing how much we kind of rage during this like 10-day period. And it was like, so when the defense rested, like I remember where I was. I like Allison was, I think, sleeping. That's kind of like a thing where you sleep during the day because you're out listening to music all night. And I'm like, I hit her up and I'm like, dude, the fucking defense just rested. They didn't put anybody on. She's like, it was like they'd Elaine like get out, like where she would have pushed me if I would have been there. Like, get out! Because I had predicted that I thought that might rest, but when they put the DNA in, like both of Allie and I thought, all right, well now they're gonna have to at least put a DNA expert on to try to counter that.
Yeah.
And then when they didn't, I was like, damn, man. So yeah, it was Alyssa, yes, very much so. Very much drunk on the streets of New Orleans. But it took me like a week.
Hi, Laura Ferris. I just saw this. Sorry. Hi, Laura Ferris. I just saw that.
Thanks, Laura.
Laura Ferris is amazing.
Love her.
I'm just going to say that. I love her too.
Well, Samantha likes the way you talk, Bob. It reminds her of her husband, just blunt and raw.
Yeah, I mean, I can only be me, If you like that, check out the pod. It's a lot of that.
Yeah,
it's good. It's awesome. Yeah, if you guys want really in-depth discussion about the witnesses and stuff from Lori Vallow, and then of course cases before that, definitely check out Defense Diaries. This series of it's on the docket, right? I'm not getting that wrong.
Yeah. So the first 2 seasons are like my dad was John Wayne Gacy's lawyer way back in 1978 through 80, and he gave me all these tapes that I held on to for 30 years. And I did the first season, not really about Gacy, but about everything other than Gacy, like the victims that no one ever talked about, and also, the arrest, the investigation, and the trial. So I focused on everything that they've pretty much neglected over 40 years on that case, and we think that it was Pretty good, man. We thought it was kind of a masterpiece in terms of the best thing that's ever been done. Because it's like not some Gacy fanboy shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I detest that guy, and I wasn't about to make it about him. I wanted to make it about everything other than him. And I think that we accomplished that. And then the second season is a case that Allison and I handled in Omaha. And then the docket is our one-off, where we're doing what you all do, except in a podcast where we are essentially covering breaking cases and current trials. And like that was the first time I brought Allie on, who is my trial partner of 20 years. We're both criminal defense attorneys, and she's a badass, man. Like, I don't know the way to put it. And I've known it forever, and I'm like super excited to share it with the world, because I think everybody realized in short order, like I like people like her more than me, and I'm like, I'm good with it. You know what I mean? I'm cool with that, man, because it's like I know like how much I adore her and just how like a powerful of a woman she is. So I like being able to put her out there, because she's an excellent representative of females in the legal industry, particularly trial lawyers. She's the best lawyer I know. So yeah, but check it out. It's good.
Yeah.
I feel like we sent a good chunk of the 13th jurors over to you. They're commenting and so many good things. Brooklyn made me laugh, considering what Brooklyn does. Brooklyn, type in the chat what you do. Remind me what you do for a living, because I don't want to say it wrong. But she said, I normally don't entertain men who can hold more bodies in a crawl space than I can. That was so well done.
Yeah. Like Brooklyn has been kind enough to hit me up on this. So,
oh, good. Okay.
I know she's like, 'cause she was like a lot of people were like, yo, I can't stomach Gacy. Like, I just don't want to deal with that shit. Like, I don't want to hear about him. And I'm like, like I feel that. And like, I felt the same way going into that season. Like, that's what I was not going to do, was make it about him. It's like, I treat him kind of like Spielberg treated Jaws, like in the first Jaws, where you didn't see the shark in the first half of the movie. And it like, because you didn't need to. And it was like the same shit with Gacy. It's like, I had the tapes and I played the tapes because it's really fascinating, because you never hear a defense attorney preparing his client in a case like that, like one of the biggest cases in American jurisprudence history, preparing him for trial, and my dad just like going to war with this fucking creep. You know what I mean? Like, and it was an insanity defense case. And I just thought they were like fascinating. So we just incorporated the tapes throughout the narrative. You know, we'd throw in like sections of the tape that we thought like fit in particular areas, you know, in terms of where we were at in the investigation, because like a lot of those tapes are my dad going through his 5 confessions that he made to law enforcement. You know, like, how did you say all this shit to the cops, but now you're telling me you don't remember anything?
Right.
Well, it's like my dad had a real hard time accepting that, and like that pushback between my father and his client, to me, was pretty fascinating.
Well, see, you know, that's what I started with your season 2, because I was like, I don't want to get into the Gacy. And this is before I knew you, but I started with your season 2 because I didn't want to do the Gacy stuff. And then, but the season 2 was so good that I was like, okay, I'll see what it's about. But I love the way that you approach it, because it's not, your podcast is not about Gacy. It's about everything else and surrounding it. And it was such a different perspective than I thought.
And it was, and like the one thing, you know, and I had seen everything on Gacy over the last 40 whatever years, man, like everything. I've read everything, and it's all like the one thing that I never learned about, like in all honesty, was any of the victims. Like I knew nothing about any of the victims. And like I got really, really lucky, because like when we were probably about 16 episodes in, and our seasons are very long. Like these aren't wondery seasons, like scratch the surface, 12 episodes. Our shit's like Gacy is 36 episodes, and they're densely packed. Like I am not, there's no banter. Like the docket's different because it's Allison and I interacting like you guys do. Whereas, you know, the serialized stuff is me scripting it. I write it, and then, you know, I perform it on both the seasons. And I was like, man, you know, I just want to focus on the victims. And like about halfway through, this guy who had been working on a book about the victims, and it's called Boys Under the Home, or Boys Under the House. It was amazing. It's an amazing book, and he'd done so much work trying to find and talk to and dig into who the victims basically were. And like I reached out to him immediately, like before the book came out. Like I heard about it. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm going to ask him to give me nuggets, because like I wanted to focus on the victims and let people know the people that mattered in that case, not the creep,
Yeah.
Lost their lives. And like he was kind enough to, like I interviewed him for the pod, and then I had him on the pod, and then he let me use excerpts from the book. So it was like it's really we're proud of it, and there's never been anything done like it. So yeah, I mean, people like that are apprehensive because it's Gacy. I mean, peep it, check it out because it's really not a Gacy.
I want to. I know Holly asked this question. I really quick want to bring up Dean Sparks' thing, but then he has given me permission to show Baby Justice, and so there's our first call, baby Justice.
Sweet little
I had to pick the right one. I know.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh. Congratulations, Dean. That's awesome. It's amazing. I've got 4 of them, so like I know that feeling of how wonderful that is. So congrats. There's nothing better when they come out healthy. It's like
right.
It's everything. So yeah, that's amazing. So Holly, the LSAT. The best way to prep is probably to do, like one of the standardized kind of like courses. And you just do and another thing that I did aside from kind of like the standardized testing, like booklets and like courses that they have, is I would buy those like logic puzzles that like if you go into like a bookstore, like they'll have them, and it's like, a guy in red is standing next to a guy in blue, but the guy in blue can't stand next to the guy in green, and the guy in red can't stand next to the guy in yellow. And like you've got to figure out logically by working through like kind of a grid, because they have a lot of that type of logic type stuff in the LSAT. And as far as like once you get into law school, the bar is a whole different thing. The bar exam is much worse than the LSAT in terms of preparing. But like that's what I'd suggest, Holly. But like, I'm going to also tell you this: think long and hard before you spend $110,000 going to law school, because it is a brutal profession, and that's honest. Like I did it for 20 plus years, and it depending on what area of law you get in, like there is nothing that is more difficult. No, I don't think there's a harder profession than being a criminal defense attorney, just because the weight of the world is on my shoulders. If the worst client for me is an innocent client, because if I don't do my job and my client goes down, I have to live with that for the rest of my life, that my guy that is innocent is in prison, and it's my responsibility. I'm the mouthpiece. I'm the one going through all the evidence. It's a huge weight, and you're just never off duty. Like you can't like shut it down and be like, I'm not going to think about this shit for a week. I'm on vacation. It doesn't work like that. Your mind is just constantly, you're worrying. It's a really, really tough profession. It really is. And it's like, you've got to be all in on it, because people's lives and their liberty are what's at stake. I mean, there's just no higher stakes, honestly, because like doctors, surgeons go in and they're going to do the best that they can to save somebody's life during a surgery. But like, they don't care if it doesn't go well, they know that was a risk going in. And I don't think that they carry it the way that like I would carry that for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
If I had an innocent person go in and like, I'm sitting there on the sidelines watching appeals go on 15 years later, knowing that the guy didn't do it. It's like, it's one of those things. It's just a tough gig, man. It really is. So yeah, not to dissuade you, but like I dissuade all my kids. I'm like, no, don't go to law school.
Yeah.
Like, you want to argue, figure out another way to do it. It's like, it's just such a hard profession. It really is.
Yeah.
Do you want to start talking about, do you want to bring up some of the hot topics we have?
Yeah, sure. You guys throw them at me, and I'm ready. I'm ready on all of it.
So let's get into the Lori stuff real quick. So we saw that she has now she has new charges for Arizona.
Yeah.
Sorry, all my stuff is falling over here.
Yeah, we got charged, and we knew it was coming. So like it was always coming with that, but like the bottom line is it's like she needs to, for the family's sake, for the victim's sake, it needs to be tried just so that they're feeling that sense of justice. I mean, she's going to be getting 3 life sentences for what happened in Idaho. So it's like in terms of, piling on, it's not going to really make a difference, but I think that people, in particular, the victims, need to see that justice is served. So, I mean, it makes sense that they're going to do it. And like, I got to be honest, man. Like, I think that Joe Ryan was a victim of hers. I don't give a shit that they said that it was, by natural causes. I think that she killed him.
Yeah, I've said that 100 times too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that they had the hand, and I think that they're the reason Alex died. Like, I've seen a theory thrown out there that some people are like, well, they think that Alex may have committed suicide. I don't think so. I think that they figured out a way to get him, and to make it seem like it was natural causes. And I know that they said it was an embolism, but I don't know. Like,
I don't believe it.
I don't believe in coincidences like that. There's just too many. I mean, she was a black widow. Like, too many of her spouses were dying, and and it was everybody that was like wronging her. And the battle that went on, between Joe and Lori when they were fighting over the kids in the middle of that divorce was epic. And I refer to her as a friend of the show. Was kind enough to send me just like a war chest of incredible information that she had compiled over God knows how long, and it was amazing. Like her, I was gonna say, like Brandi, she did a chart for that trial, like a timeline that was like yours, except like on crack. This thing was, I couldn't, like, when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, this is like the greatest reference. And yours was obviously amazing. Hers was like, but she went into like every piece of evidence. It was next level. It was amazing. And I'm like, I'll forever be grateful to her for sending us all that she did, because it was just so next level, and it was amazing. Yeah. It was just stuff like she sent me all the pleadings on like the battle, like the custody battle between Joe Ryan and Lori, where it like was such context added to what was going on in that case. And like, because if you would watch like the Sins of the Mother, where they had that audio where she was talking about, she's like, either I'm going to lean into the church or I'm going to murder someone. She's talking about Joe. And she wasn't saying it like metaphorically. She was saying it literally. Like, either I'm going to lean into my religion hard or I'm going to kill someone, and that was like, you can see, like, that was the point in her life where she was really fighting what I think were her urges. I mean, I think she was homicidal, man. Like, and I think that it ended up like playing out the way that it did. And I think that Chad was like the guy that she was looking for all along. Like, she went through a lot of guys until she landed on Chad, and Chad was kind of like that perfect patsy. And like, I saw an interview that my friend of the show sent me of one of the jurors, and it wasn't the alternate. It was one of the actual jurors that interviewed with Nate of East Idaho News, and it was like an amazing interview. Like, he was super candid, and like, we had always said that I didn't think that the case had been, that the state had necessarily met their burden, but I had always said I felt in my heart of hearts it didn't matter. They were always going to find her guilty on all counts without question, whether the state met the burden or not. And he, in that interview, unequivocally said it. Like, he's like, we kept kind of waiting for the state, to give us that piece of smoking gun evidence that put it all together, and it just never came. But you know what? Like, they put enough in to where it laid out the story, and that you knew that she was complicit. It's like they didn't have because they just didn't have that piece of smoking gun evidence. It just didn't exist. She was too smart to have left that trail of breadcrumbs, and so she ends up. It ended exactly how it was supposed to end, and we all felt great relief, obviously. So,
now somebody had asked, is the death penalty on the table in the Arizona case?
That's a good question. I have not dug in. I bet you that there's somebody in this chat that knows that answer. and I'm not going to name names, but I bet you there's somebody in here that knows it.
I think it is. But
I think it is a death penalty state, but it's like I don't want to, like, I'm big on not giving bad intel, and I don't know definitively.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's there you go, Ivan coming through in the clutch. See, that's why you win prizes, Ivan.
That's why you get beanbags.
That's right. You come in and dominate the chat, dude. Like, shit. So that's quality. So yeah, I mean, there's your answer. And I mean, in terms of those charges, it depends on how it plays out in Arizona, because every state's laws are different. Like, in Idaho, conspiracy to commit ends up with the same penalty that actually the first degree murder does. So like, she could have been found not guilty on the first degrees and still gotten the same sentence from the conspiracy to commit first degree murder. Whereas like in Illinois, that's not the case. Like, it does not hold the same penalty as the underlying crime. Because the fact of the matter is, and we talk about it on the podcast, with a conspiracy charge, you don't actually have to have committed the underlying crime, because that's not what the crime is. The crime is making the agreement and then making a substantial step towards it with an overt act. Like, if they can show those two things, whether or not the thing actually happened, you can still be guilty of the conspiracy, even if they never committed the thing that they agreed to do, so it's unusual. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that's definitely one reason why they would try her there.
Yeah.
If they could get her on the death penalty.
And now, why do you think that her niece, why do you think Melanie is not included in this?
I have to think that she flipped. And like, I know that Zulema had gotten like a use immunity deal in Arizona. I don't know how that carried over in terms of, I have a feeling that the prosecutors in Idaho respected that deal, in the sense that, because she came in and laid a ton of background. Like, she gave us all of the nitty gritty on what was going on with the castings and the zombies. Like she provided more, like way more than Melanie. Like, Melanie was kind of like, Melanie Gibb was kind of like the generalization. And then Zulema was the one that was giving the detail, like, of exactly what the teachings of Chad and Lori were. So I have to think that, and like, there's part of me that believes that, what happened with Melanie's is that she like broke the exclusionary rule because like she didn't want to testify at that trial, which would then get rid of any deal that she may have had. Like, I mean, she made that so obvious that she had listened to testimony and had broken the rule, and it made it impossible for her to be able to get on the stand and testify because she had heard too much. So, I have to think if she's not going to get charged down there, it's because she's going to be an absolute key witness for the state. And then she's going to get some kind of deal, which I don't think a lot of people are good with. You know what I mean? It's like she's complicit. Like, and I think that Zulema's complicit. I agree. I think that they have responsibility there. I don't know that it's to the extent that it was for Lori and Chad, and if Alex were alive, Alex, but they do not have clean hands in this thing, and I think that they need to pay a price, and if they're getting this gift from the state, in terms of getting use immunity, which is basically where they're saying, look, we can still charge you for the crime, but we can't use what you testified to at trial against you if we charge you. Whereas full immunity is like, we're never going to charge you on anything. So that's the difference between full immunity and use immunity. Use is like, we're not going to use your words against you that you testify to. And, so you're free to talk about it at length, and we're never going to turn around and use it against you when we're trying to convict you. So I have a feeling she's getting a deal, but we'll see how it plays out.
Another one of our big hot topics for today that we wanted your input on too is, of course, Bryan Kohberger. So we saw that about the secret grand jury and the indictment. So tell us your lawyer thoughts on that.
All right. So like, I'm like one of those guys that kind of like brags a little bit when I predict shit, and I definitely was predicting. I predicted that like on Twitter, and there's like a record of it. So like months ago, I was like, "There's no way that the prosecutor in that case, with the amount of pre-trial and pre-arrest publicity that case got, and just the ugly shit that went on in social media with respect to just rumors and speculation and accusations flying, it was disgusting. Like it really was. It made me sick. Like I gave like a 10-minute like JT. I don't know if you listened to it. I thought you did. Like it was a soapbox thing where I was like just admonishing all creators that like if you're taking part in this in order to get clicks and downloads by just puking out information that is not substantiated to the detriment of people out there that are being affected, whose real lives are being affected by accusations, I'm like, then you're part of the problem. You know, and it goes way beyond just being able to like impanel a fair and impartial jury, because the whole pool has been tainted by bad intel. Because when it was at the level that it was going with that, like with that case in particular, I'd never seen anything like it. And you saw it was a full flex on socials where you've got people with 20, 30, 40,000 followers on various platforms putting out bad intel and people taking it in as if it was gospel. Like, and I'm not going to start naming names on here, but you know, there were certain FBI agents that like I was at war with. I'm like, quit doing that. You're wrong. You're not a lawyer. Like, you don't know the legal process. Stay in your lane. Talk about Fed shit. Don't talk about lawyer things because you just don't understand it. And you're getting everything wrong, and you're giving the wrong information out to people who are then turning around and retweeting it or retyping it out in their own tweet, and then it just snowballs. And that went on so horrifically that you know, it created this situation. Now we're like, every PCA, every probable cause affidavit that comes out in a high profile case, they're trying to seal it. It never used to be the case. But because of like online, just the true crime community, the online sleuths, the armchair sleuths, the web sleuths, all the people out there trying to crack these cases and, you know, just throwing what they can throw out there in order to get clicks without vetting the information is irresponsible and terrifying, to be honest with you. You know, it's like, can that be incredibly helpful? Yes. Like, and I look at you, Brandi, like what you did during Murdoch is the appropriate way to be able to contribute to us being able to grasp what the fuck is going on. Like that is something where you're taking facts as you learn them and compiling them in a way that's digestible for all of us to look at and say, man, this is amazing. Like, I was blown away by your chart. I was like, this is amazing. Like, this is my reference tool. Anytime I'm talking about it on my pod, I'm looking at Brandi's chart and being like, boom, like this is the time that it happened. This is like, that is how you responsibly do things. You don't go like just digging in on the internet and finding some unsubstantiated shit and then pretending like it's fact. And it's like, so, whatever. So like ultimately what happened, and like that whole like soapbox thing I just did right there is why I always thought they were going to go to a grand jury, because what happens in a grand jury, and 99.9% of grand juries are secret. Okay. Meaning that they're not done publicly. Typically the defendant or the defense is not involved in it. It's done with a prosecutor, typically a law enforcement agency, typically one officer, and then citizens that make up the grand jury. And what they'll do is they'll go in and basically for this case, they would have gone in and they would have said, hey, this is what we have. And they would have gone through that PCA that we all know so well. Like, and they would have gone through those facts. And what they have to show, what they're doing, because even though he was arrested, he hasn't been formally charged. That happens, and that's going to happen on the 22nd, on May 22nd, when he's going to be formally charged or arraigned. Okay, that is when the judge is going to read what he has been indicted on. And an indictment happens through a grand jury, whereas they have to show probable cause for the matter to proceed to trial. It's different than, like, say, if you get pulled over by the cops in your car, they have to have probable cause to do that as well. Like, if they think that you're drunk driving and you go over the double yellows, they're like, we have probable cause to pull you over. If your license plate like light is out, that's probable cause for them to pull you over. You have a headlight out, it's probable cause. I mean, it's like a lot of those are pretextual. meaning it's not the real reason they're pulling you over. They're pulling you over because they think that you're wasted because they saw you driving out of a bar parking lot, but they still had to see you create some kind of like infraction traffic wise or something else that gives them probable cause to pull you over. So for a trial, it's different. So they have to show two things. They have to show, number one, that the crimes were committed. Now, obviously, in the Idaho 4, we know that 4 beautiful young kids were murdered. So we know that that part's taken care of. The second part is they have to show that it's more likely than not that the defendant who was charged is the party that is responsible for the crime. So that's kind of the key factor. It's a way, way lower burden than beyond a reasonable doubt. But it's a burden nonetheless that still has to be met. So for me, what it means is there's not going to be a public hearing because that preliminary hearing, and I'm sure what they would have done is they would have closed it down. They would have tried to seal it. They would have tried to keep everybody out because they're trying to keep a lid on this because what happened pre-arrest online. It was an issue. Like, and it wasn't just like me that was aware of it. People that are in the legal field were aware of it. And it was like I started seeing people that were like, man, this thing is like a problem. Like this is becoming a problem, not just in this case, but like in general. So like they were trying to keep a lid on it. So they probably would have sealed that hearing off. Maybe we would have seen it. Maybe we would have heard it. Like I don't think it would have been televised. I think there would have been, the press is the one with the First Amendment like battles going in, trying to say, hey, the Constitution says these are supposed to be public trials. We get what you're trying to do. And it's the judge's job to weigh whether or not they think that the defendant whose rights we're concerned with in terms of them getting a fair trial is if that outweighs the need for the press to be able to publicly talk about what happened at the trial and or broadcast it. So like that's the judge, what the judge is going to weigh in that situation. So, with that preliminary hearing, we would have gotten more like what we're all dying for is what else have they got? Like, what else have they gotten? Because that investigation just started when he got arrested. It's like we saw everything that they had coming into that case in terms of the arrest because they put it all in the PCA. Like they may have had some other information, but they put their very best evidence at the time in that PCA. But as soon as they arrested him, they had way more access to everything. They had access to his apartment, his parents' house, his vehicle, all of his devices, everything. So they're going to scour the earth looking for everything related to him. They're going to go into all his socials. They're going to dig into all of that. And that's the stuff that we want to know what else they have, So like, and we're not going to find out. Like, that's the bottom line. Yeah. We're like, now we're not going to find out. And that's exactly why they went to a grand jury. And I knew they were going to do it. And they don't go to grand juries in Idaho typically. Like I think I read a statistic that was like 98% are done by preliminary hearing there. So they went against the norm there in doing this with the grand jury. And, we forced it by the way that we acted is society in terms of how we handle the case, forced their hand into doing that. So we're going to get shut out. And like the next thing that we'll find out, like we'll hear about what happened. And he's basically what happens in an arraignment. They're going to formally read the charges. He's been charged with 4 counts of homicide and, first-degree murder. And I think he was charged with 1 count of burglary. And, yes, Laura, that is correct. That is absolutely correct. So, what they're going to end up doing there is they'll read him the charges, and then that's the point where he's going to plead not guilty. Like it's not news that he pleads not guilty. Like, we're all going to see it. Everyone's going to be like, he pleads it. Everyone pleads not guilty.
It's expected. Yeah.
It's expected. And it means nothing. It doesn't mean that he can't plead out later on down the road. It means nothing. It just means that right now, in terms of this part of the process, he's pleading not guilty, and they're going to start the discovery process in full. Like they've already tendered a bunch of discovery, but there's more. Like I said, they're going to continue to investigate this thing up until it goes to trial, period. That's how it is. Like in the Garcia case, it was my second season. They were literally investigating that case to the day before trial started. That's how long the investigation goes. And there's an ongoing duty by the state and by the defense, because we're obviously doing our own investigation. It's reciprocal discovery. If they have stuff that they get and they intend on using in a trial, they have a duty to give it to us, and vice versa. The state also has the duty, if they find exculpatory evidence, they have a duty to turn that over, even if they don't want to. because like the thing that's kind of forgotten about in these cases is the amount of money that is spent by the government to prosecute these cases. Like I can guarantee, like this case is going to be a $50 million case all said and done. And I'm talking about from law enforcement down, for all the cops that did all the work, all the investigation that went into it, all the lab work, all the experts, all the attorneys that are going to be involved. When you like start to churn the numbers, it's a massively expensive, endeavor. And it's not one that the state is going to say, oh, well, we screwed up. We got the wrong guy. Like that. That's why they develop. It's part of the reason that they develop tunnel vision. Like when they land on a guy, and I use the guy generically, genderless. Like the guy is the person for me.
Yeah.
It's always the guy, whether it's a woman or a man. If that's the person they have arrested, they're just not going to let that thing fade away based on something that could be exculpatory. And that's where you kind of sometimes will run into those Brady violations, where sometimes, and often those are not caught until after trial. Because like as defense attorneys, I can't know what they have if I don't know it exists. You know what I'm saying? So like a prosecutor will take that risk sometimes, and they'll say like, all right, well, do we want to turn this over? Because if they find out about it, we're screwed. So it's like it's a huge risk because it could turn the tides of the case massively. Virginia, I don't know if he'll plead out. I honestly think because of what happened with Lori in terms of the state not tendering discovery in a timely fashion, so they took the death penalty off. I have a feeling that there might be a real push to put his ass in front of the firing squad. Because they reenacted it there, and basically they can only use it if they cannot come up with the lethal injection cocktail, which is in shortage, which is in like massive shortage these days. So I think there might be a call for the death penalty that, and they're going to go to the families. They're going to say, look, we could save a ton of money by not having to go to trial, by taking, this offer to him and taking death penalty off the table, and maybe he'll plead out. Maybe he'll grab that, and the family may be like, well, but so there's a lot of things to consider there. There's political aspect. There's the victims' families, how they feel about it. There's the money side of it. There's a lot of things at play in those types of decisions. So, we'll see how it plays out. I agree, Cajun. If I were Chad, I would take a deal all day because that sucker is going down. They just have a stronger case against him. They just do. There's no way he's winning that thing.
Yeah.
Unless
he's able to convict Lori, and the case is even stronger against him. So for them to be able to convict Lori, he'd be an idiot to not plea if he's given the opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. And Kaz, I think that Chad would also be liable in Arizona. I think that, because the argument is that the conspiracy, the agreement between the parties started before Charles died. Charles was really the first one in the mix. He obviously played a major role in this trial, but obviously they couldn't try him there because it was a different jurisdiction. But that part of the story was a massive part of the state's theory in this case in Idaho. So, I think for sure he's complicit there as well. And the one thing that we talk about on the podcast a lot was the fact that I was surprised, because even though they don't have, the part that fascinated me so much about this case was the interplay between the religion, the beliefs of that religion, and how that interplays with the First Amendment and the legal system. And it's they had the opportunity, even though they couldn't go, not guilty by reason of insanity in Idaho, because that is no longer since 1992. That's off the books. But they had carved out this area of the law where you can attack what they call the mens rea portion of the statute, of any statute. And the mens rea portion of a homicide statute is that the person knowingly kills a human being. Any statute that you see for homicide, one of the elements that have to be proven is that the person knowingly is killing a human being. So Lori's attorneys could have attacked that, but Lori would not allow for it. Like, so they because like if she really thought that her kids were all demons, like truly, like, and they had gone to psychologists and forensic psychologists and psychiatrists, and they had like dug into her, and they're like, man, like, I don't think she's malingering. I think she actually believes all this shit.
Yeah.
There was a chance that, you know, she could have been found, you know, not guilty by reason of insanity because she didn't think she was killing a human being. Like the way that she acted in terms of like her kids being dead, and she had no affect, and it didn't seem to like bother her at all. And because she thought that like their souls had been released up to heaven by way of like killing the vessel, because all that was remaining in those vessels was a dark spirit. You know, I mean, it would have been a compelling argument. Do I think that the jury would have bought it? Fuck no. You know,
I don't either. And for the main reason that she, in her little, you know, crazy cult world, she, you know, those are the things she was saying, and those are the things that she said to believe. But the thing that I think the jury would have a problem with in that case is that she was still hiding it from the police. So for her, so that shows that she would know it's wrong. So for her to try to get Gibb to, you know, be like, oh, hey, you know, just go take a picture of a kid. I think that would be, if it had gone that way, and if that was something that had been done, I think that would be the part that the jury would have a problem with.
Yeah, and like, so my counter argument to that is like, her belief system didn't mean she was like a drooling, like slobbering, crazy person. You know what I mean? Like, they understood the fact that the rest of the world at large did not believe what they believed, and they understood the fact that if it came out that they had slayed the vessels in order to free the demons, that would result in murder charges.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So it's like I hear what you're saying, and it's true, but it's like their reasoning would have been different than like, we're hiding because what we did was wrong. They're doing it. They're hiding because the rest of the world doesn't believe what they believed. You know what I mean? It's like, it was such a fascinating like rabbit hole for me to like get into, because like that was the thing. Like that was the thing with me. Like if Lori truly believed, and like I still sit there and I think that Lori sat there during that trial just not giving an F.
Yeah.
Like, she really still is sitting in there believing that come March 24th, or March of 24, end of days is coming. Like, none of this shit's gonna matter. Like, it's all gonna be for like, go ahead and try me. You know, like none of it's gonna matter. Because like when Archibald in his closing was like calling Chad's books dumb.
Yeah.
She was like my friends that were on site were like, man, she was shooting darts at Archibald.
Yeah.
Like she.
Well, did you see the picture where she has like the hair tie that's on her finger, like to look like a wedding ring? Did you see that? So it's I can't remember where I saw it. She had it was a recent picture from and she had hair, like a hair tie thing, like one of these, and she had it wrapped around her hand.
Like her wedding ring.
Yeah, yes.
To show her like her devotion to Chad.
Solidarity to Dumbbell.
Ugh. Oh my God, they're searching. They're searching. They're searching that. Yeah. So like, yeah, we kind of slipped back into Vallow. I mean, I got Vallow on the break. So. Yeah, I mean, does anybody have any other questions about like what happened with Idaho 4? I mean, that's like, we're like, that thing is going to go dormant. Like after he pleads not guilty on Monday, like we're going to be 6, 8, 10 months before any kind of motion work is filed. Great loins. Exactly. The storm. Yeah. So like. Just get ready. Everyone needs to get ready. We're going to have like a huge pause, like on Delphi. Like that's going to take a year to 2 to get like Delphi. We still have that bond hearing where they're trying to ask for bond to be set coming up like imminently. I will be boots on the ground there, like in that hearing for sure. Like I'll spend the night out there to get in that courthouse because like I'm going to be in there for that. You know, but like after that goes down, I mean, we're talking like people don't want to hear it. But like these things are going to take 2 years to get to trial. You know, without a speedy trial demand, it's just like the motion work itself is going to be massive. It's like, if you look at the motion work, and Lori had made a speedy trial demand. Like, that's why hers went to trial so much sooner than Chad's. Like, Chad's won't go for ages because he didn't make a speedy demand. Like, he's like, I'm in no hurry, And Lori was like, let's go. Like, I don't think they can get their case put together. And it's like a calculated risk. Like, prosecutors hate when a speedy trial demand because it forces them to trial way, way sooner than they're ready to go. But the state did an amazing job putting that thing together, and frankly, her defense was futile. Like, those guys were just not ready. Like, they put forth nothing. Like, they just leaned into reasonable doubt in a way that was like, because Allison and I are critically like reviewing everything that went on in that trial as defense attorneys, like in our podcast for 12 episodes, man, like witness by witness. And it's like, they just did nothing, like all the way through the closing. It was futile. Like, it was just,
they breathed heavy and then they asked about credentials. That's the only two things they did the entire time.
I mean, literally.
Yeah.
Literally. Do you have any thoughts on the eyewitness accounts on the aftermath? Sarah, in which case? Are you talking about Idaho 4? Sarah had asked.
Yeah, I think she means Idaho 4.
I have massive thoughts on that. Like, I really do. Like, I did an episode of the docket. Like, so when the PCA for Idaho 4 dropped, I went through, I read the entire thing into the thing, but I did it in kind of an interesting fashion and kind of was explaining to people what it means. And then in the second one, I started picking it apart. And as far as Dylan goes, like, just understand that law enforcement did not write that probable cause affidavit. That was written by the prosecutor or the attorneys of the case. It's not like that. Like, those types in a case like that, it's always going to be the lawyers that are writing those things. And I just think that they stretched so far on that thing. I think it's going to come to pass. Like, when you saw the resistance of Dylan being subpoenaed potentially for the preliminary hearing, when you saw her people hire an attorney and fight and try to quash that subpoena, because she's like, I'm not coming there to testify. Like, you can't. And I had been saying it all along. I think the prosecution set her up to fail. She is going to get hammered on the stand at trial. I don't think she said the words that I entered a frozen shock phase. Number one, because it's not a real thing. And number two, because frankly, like, no kid at college in Idaho is ever thinking in a million years that somebody is creeping through the house, murdering 4 of your roommates. That's not what people think is going on. I mean, we know Xana ordered DoorDash. Like, that's what they're doing on a Saturday night after partying. They're coming back. Xana and Ethan are getting in arguments. Fucking food's getting ordered at 4 in the morning. She just thinks it's like business as usual. She probably thought that the dude she saw was a hookup. Like, she's not seeing like blood dripping all over this guy. She doesn't see a knife. She just sees some dude walking out, and it could have been like anybody had hooked up with some dude who's like now jetted. So like, in her mind, I don't think she would have frozen. Like, because they were trying to explain why 911 wasn't called until 11:58 in the morning the next day. And so to answer the rest of that question, Sarah, yes, the aftermath, if you're talking about the fact that there were frat boys in that house destroying the integrity of the crime scene, it's going to be a massive problem. Like, watch. Like, you heard it here, and it is going to be a big issue. All the footprints, fingerprint, like everything about that crime scene. If they were touching the bodies, like who knows? And like, I think that the reality is that they were probably trying to clear the house out of like whatever shit they had in there. Like, oh, we got to get rid of all the bongs. Like, we got to get rid of all the weed. We got to get rid of all the Molly. Like, it's a party house. Like, that's not casting shade. Like, that's what kids in college do. They rage. Like, that's the time in your life when you rage. So they wanted to clear out everything out of that house before there's no other explanation as to why they waited hours. Because I've heard it from people that claim that they're in the know. I've never said it like on my TikToks or anything, but that they are like in like communication with people that know that those kids were in that house as early as like 9:30 on Sunday morning. and we know that hours went by before the 911 call is placed. That's way too much time for people to be in that house destroying the crime scene. So, I mean, I think it's going to be a problem. Case is going to be like hellish. Like I'm really upset, frankly, that it's not going to be streamed, because it's going to be one hell of a trial.
Yeah. I feel like some of the biggest ones aren't, like the Lori Vallow. I was bummed it wasn't streamed too, but we made the best of it.
Yeah, I mean, I love that as a podcaster. I mean, I loved listening to it. Yeah. You know, I mean, it was right up my alley, you know, and it was just a ton of work to try to listen to all of the testimony every night. And then boom, we're like, you know, now we got to record at 2 a.m, you know? So, I mean, it was exhausting, but it was worth it. You know, we enjoyed doing it.
Now, the trial that we're starting tonight, you were just on Court TV talking about this one, right?
Yeah. Is it, which one?
Zieler?
Yes. Yeah. Like yesterday we were talking about that one. So like you guys are going to stream the openings tonight?
Yeah. The openings. And then
I'm not going to give you all the spoilers, but I will just tell you this. The state's opening is pretty compelling. I have a sneaking suspicion this guy is screwed.
Oh yeah.
They've got some very, very strong evidence against him. And it's like one of those beautiful cases that's like a 30-year-old cold case that just like rose out of the ashes like a phoenix to like bring this woman justice. So it's like amazing in that sense, you know, or both of them justice. And, you know, so it's going to be interesting, you know, but like, I called like the Letitia Stouch thing like early. I'm like, there's like people were concerned about it. I'm like, no one's finding her insane. It's like they played all of that like just days and days and days and days of her screeching with that hideous voice, you know, for a reason. It was
that awful voice.
Oh my God. It was like she was I can't remember like not being able to stand somebody more than her. Like she just the way she looked, like everything that she was doing at trial, her hair, like everything about her was horrific. So yeah, no, like you guys, it's going to be a really, really super interesting opening that you guys will really enjoy.
Yeah.
Well,
we're looking forward to it.
I think we're going to probably move on there.
All right.
But we appreciate you coming on and giving us obviously offering your expertise on all of this stuff, especially with Vallow, because there's so much there. So we appreciate you a lot.
I love joining you guys. You guys are the best. I love that you guys are crushing the game. You guys deserve it. Or just pop up. Like she always likes to creep in. Like so
hi, Mini Motta.
You guys are amazing. Keep crushing it. You know, anytime you guys want me on, I'm always happy to jump on. And everyone check out our pod. I think you'll dig it. We definitely do super deep dives. So if you dig super deep dives, I pretty much guarantee that you will like our podcast.
Yes.
Yep. And
you got your own little marketing assistant right there too.
Bob.
There she is. She's
a
good one. She's going to. She actually. I did a Christmas thing when I read a letter that Mark Twain had written his daughter for Christmas from Santa, and she played the part of my 3-year-old daughter. She killed it, so it's pretty good.
Aww.
Yeah,
Nailed it.
All right, you guys. Love y'all. Thanks for having me.
Love you, Bob. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.
Always. Take care.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Oh my gosh, so much there.
Love us some Bob Motta. He is so knowledgeable on so many things, and it's great to hear the criminal defense attorney perspective on things. And because you know, I can tell y'all what I think all day long, but I'm not an attorney. And even if I was, there's only one Bob Motta, so we love having him here, and we appreciate all of his stuff. Now, Bob was on Court TV yesterday talking about the trial that we are actually starting tonight. So, Brother Brewmeister has. Oh, I just realized my name has changed where I was working on that video earlier for the.
Do you know what I found out?
What?
That well, I said that, and then all of a sudden it went away. Where is it? There it is. Now we apparently can have headlines. So, like, I could put myself. Well, let me. This is fun. Look at that. I can put my name and Brother Brewmeister underneath.
Oh,
but also, I don't know if I want that.
I had changed mine earlier because I don't know if anybody saw my tweet. I'm actually working on putting a video out now. I was working on it earlier, and I've got some more to get done on it. So it'll probably be posted tomorrow on the YouTube channel, of course, and then I'll also tweet the link for it. But and I'll put it on Facebook. But I have a friend. She's my old college roommate. She and I have been friends for decades. She lives here in Florida. She's actually in Orlando area. It's a town called Claremont. She had told me years ago about this friend Lori that she had, and Lori's husband had gone missing, and everything around it was very strange. And she was telling me about, Lori was now remarried to this other guy, Travis, and their kids were friends. So she would go over there and, they would roast marshmallows in their fire pit. Well, turns out Lori had murdered her husband and buried him under the fire pit and then poured a slab of concrete over it. And so they were literally roasting marshmallows on her dead husband's grave with their children, which is insane. And so this has come back into the news recently because her daughter, who was 7 at the time, is 14 now. And the mom wants her daughter, who I'll get into deep dive about this, but there's been years of manipulation. Her daughter was 7 at the time. So now she's saying that her daughter is the one who shot her dad in the back of the head with the .38 caliber. And that her daughter now wants to testify and take blame. Her daughter's 14 now. She was 7 at the time of the murder. So that's kind of popped back in the news. So I've got a video coming out about all the details on that. So always check under the new concrete. It's always the new concrete. If there's ever new concrete or fresh dirt, then that's a red flag. So that's going to be put out tomorrow. But tonight, do you want to go ahead and tell them what our other little plan is before we start streaming?
Yeah, I'd love to. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm right. So 13th Juror, you all are wonderful. And that makes it sound, that almost sounds like a bye. It's not a bye, actually.
Sounds like we're breaking up with you, but we're not breaking up.
We're not breaking up at all. In fact, if anything, we're going all in on the relationship.
Yes.
So Brandi and I were talking, and it's always very hard. It's difficult for me to stream in the daytime when live stuff happens. And after a while of doing nighttime stuff, I'm very much a nighttime person. But, after a while, it takes its toll on anybody. And so I think Brandi and I are going to offer twice the 13th Juror most days, which means the following. It does not become 26th Juror, but what it does mean is that Brandi, depending on the trial, Brandi will be streaming trials in the daytime. And so, Alyssa, I'll get on that for you. Yes, listen, this has been our proposal to you this whole time. Luckily, I think most of you have said yes.
Yes.
And so Brandi will be streaming trials during the day, and we'll talk about maybe the first one that you're going to be streaming, which I think starts tomorrow.
Jury selection starts tomorrow.
Selection starts tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I will be doing what we have deemed 13th Juror Night Court. And I'll be doing kind of trial recaps, one-off cases, etc. It'll be kind of a variety show, but when trials happen, there'll be recaps at night. So we'll have something for day people and something for night people. And that's kind of where we're going right now, until at which point I can say bye job and do this full time, which eventually I hope happens. So Brandi will be on daytime for trials, and I'll be on nighttime, and I think night court will be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then every other Sunday we are going to do our WTF, because dang it, Brandi and I feel like superheroes. You guys make us feel like superheroes, but the reality is, we need a break every now and again.
We're tired,
we're trying to look after ourselves, but also provide you with everything that you deserve and more. So that's the goal. Yes. I think hopefully y'all are good for it, or good with it, not good for it, but good with it. So,
and I'm still going to be coming on to the night streams too. I'm going to be, especially in the very beginning of, the show and stuff, I will not be hanging out the entire night stream, because it does get, it gets to be a lot, and we want so much to cover everything. Oh, look, Carmen's JT retirement fund. Yay!
Thank you.
We gotta get him retired so we can have him full time. So I am still going to be coming on in the night time. It'll probably be mostly like the beginning of the show because, I love to be able to pop in, say hi, like go over the trial daddies and the nonsense and the, all the fun stuff, and give y'all like, imaginary furniture and whatnot. So I'm still going to be coming on. I'm not going to be able to stay the whole time on the night shows, but the trial that I'm going to be starting with during the day, it's right by my hometown. So it's kind of one of those things that it seemed like the right one to kick it off and start it and try it. So
we had a really good question. And I think this is I really appreciate the fact that our group, our 13 jurors, are concerned about our mods. And it's something that we talked about today, actually, and had a good long conversation about. And one of the things that we're going to be doing is we're going to be, slowly but surely adding more mods. We are currently sitting at 10. I would like to sit at 15 or 16. And so the way that I will give you a little behind the scenes. The way that I like to do things is is relaxed, but also we get things done, right? And so I don't expect everybody to be here all the time. And because that's just ridiculous. The fact that they're giving so much of their time already just blows me away. I am humbled by it. I could not say thank you enough. And I probably bother them for as much as I say it in our chat. And so the goal has always been, if they need off, if they need to family stuff, life, we have life. And so there's no need for everybody to be here all the time. You all are well behaved. And so it's awesome that, they don't have to do too much, which is great. And so, which is the community we were hoping for.
Yes.
Anyways, I'm going to push on. Yes, they can, because we're going to make it so that it's comfortable for them. There's my short answer. I should have just left it at that.
Yes. And and I love when the mods are here, and when not everybody can be here all at the same time, and I get that. So and I think we try to make sure everybody knows too, like, just like we can't handle everything all the time, every single time, we know that they can't either. So but we are going to be adding some more. So
yes, and time-wise, Brandi's times, I think at the daytime will just depend on the time court starts.
Yeah.
And then my times are pretty much going to stick to 8:45. That just seems to be the time that works for my family and everything else going on. So, yeah, that being said,
yeah,
there's the announcement. We did it.
Yes. And somebody asked about is the trial going to be merit? And that is the one that I'm going to be doing during the day, is the one that was close to home, is merit. So we'll have more information about, like, once they get everything figured out and jury selection and all that, we'll get it, but get that information to y'all to make sure that everybody has it. But yeah, he is an attorney. He was disbarred in Georgia because he was stealing money from his clients. Very like Murdoch-esque, but he was disbarred. He was actually facing 15 years prison. The judge told him he had 2 weeks to get his affairs in order. So he went, his mom was actually cooking him his last meal, and he murdered her, stabbed her, and then stole her car and took off. He was on the run for 8 months before they found him in Nashville. And so now he is on trial for that. So Yes.
That's wild.
So that's that. Yeah.
And tonight, the evenings will be Zieler versus Florida, as we mentioned a little bit earlier. And he is on trial for, again, a cold case. May 1990, the deaths of 11-year-old Robin Cornell and her babysitter, 32-year-old Lisa Story. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a background. Their bodies were discovered by Robin, the child's mother, Jan Cornell, 33 years ago. And so there's a lot that's happening here. We'll go more into the story, in a bit. Ricky, thank you so much. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
So we'll go more into it kind of as things go on, but and the way that they're broadcasting this kind of gives us a nice succinct version. But it's primarily, tonight we're going to listen to literally prosecution opening, defense opening, and then the first witness, who happens to be, I believe it's Jan. Oh goodness, where is it? Oh no. Yes.
Oh
yeah. Yes.
Jan. Sorry. Did I just see this right? Wait, where did this go? Quincy Brown's in chat. We have Quincy Brown in chat, and here we thought Quincy Brown was fake.
Oh no!
That's
followed by
oh my goodness!
You popped that up on the screen because I hadn't seen it, and boy was I frightened for a second there.
Thank you so much, Candace. Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited about this one tonight that we're starting. JT actually found this one in all of his spare time that he has.
No, this was mod/Discord.
mod/Discord.
I can't take credit for that one.
Gotcha.
Can't take credit for that one.
But this one sounds so interesting because not only because it's a 33-year-old cold case, but because of it being a cold case. Imagine the family having that. Not satisfaction isn't the right word, but having
closure.
Just like that sense of finally getting justice. For something so awful after 33 years. So it's cold case, it's got DNA, it's got all the interesting stuff. So I'm excited about this one.
Yeah. So I think we probably should just kind of get straight into it. I think that would be the best way to do it. What I'm going to do is, if you will just give me 2 shakes of a bit here, and we'll just kind of, cover some things here. And take care of this. Here we are. And I don't think we're going to block anything. So that's good. All right. No, you didn't. Well, I mean, Bob Motta came on. RA, hello. Thanks for joining us. We talked a couple of updates and stuff and kind of talked about what we're planning on doing next. And then now we're hopping into the opening statements of Zieler. And Amos, thank you. We love you too.
Thank you.
We love you lots. All right. So let's get started, and hopefully there aren't commercials, because boy, oh boy, do they like them. And there is no ability to fix audio, so here's hoping it is loud enough.
Robin, I'm going to Donnie's. I love you. I love you too, Mom. Tell Donnie not to be late picking me up tomorrow. Oh, and Robin, you better not be on the phone, because I'm going to call and check. Those were the last words that Jan Cornell spoke to her 11-year-old daughter on May 9th of 1990. Robin was blonde-haired, blue eyes, a little over 80 pounds, about 5'2". She was a 5th grader at Tropic Isle Elementary. And like most kids, she loved things like French fries and the beach. She loved talking on the phone and Nintendo. And she had a best friend named Jolie that she saw almost every day. Now, at the time, they were living off of Southeast 12th Avenue in Cape Coral, in an area called the Courtyards North. It was near the hospital where Jan was employed. 2 stories, 2 bed, 2 bath. When they first moved in, it was September of 1989, and Robin shared a room with her older sister, Jeannie, who was about 19 at the time. Not too long before this happened on May 9th, Jeannie had moved out, though, to move in with her boyfriend, and Robin was so excited because she finally got to have her own room. But like most single mothers, Jan had to pay bills, and she needed some help. Money was tight, so she asked her friend and coworker, Lisa Story, if she wanted to come in and rent the room. Lisa was 32 years old, about 5'3", 140 pounds, green eyes, reddish-brown hair. She loved her job doing fundraising for Cape Coral Hospital. She was in love with her boyfriend of almost 4 years, Randy Richards, who she was planning on marrying the upcoming September. And Lisa was so excited and proud because Randy's birthday was on May 11th, and she had bought him a Seiko watch that she had inscribed on the back that said, "To Randy, happy birthday, 5/11/90, all my love, Lisa." And she was showing everyone this watch. So Lisa moved in. She spent May 8th and May 9th moving her stuff, and Jan helped her, and Jan's boyfriend, Donnie, and some other friends. But it was a very tiring few days. So by the end of May 9th, Lisa decided just to stay home and relax. She didn't even want to unpack. She grabbed her cat, turned on the TV, and settled in bed. That night, Jan went to Lisa to confirm that she didn't mind if she went to Donnie's house for just a little while and if Lisa could watch Robin. Lisa, of course, encouraged her to go. She's like, "We're both in bed. You go, have a good time." Jan didn't want Lisa to think that she was just a babysitter. But so Jan leaves. She goes into the room that she shares with Robin, tucks her in, says goodnight, has those last final words with her, and shuts the lights off. She goes downstairs, and the first thing she does is go to the sliders in the living room and make sure they're locked. Then she turns a little lamp on in the living room so there's a little light when she comes home so she can see. And then she turns the porch light on, and she leaves through the front door. Now, this door has 2 locks on it. There's a deadbolt, and then the handle also has a lock. That lock is broken, so if you're outside and it's locked, you can't get in. The key won't work. And everyone knew that. Robin and Lisa knew that. So everyone knew, basically, do not lock that bottom lock, just use the deadbolt. So she goes outside, locks the deadbolt, gets in her car, and takes the very short trip of 3 to 5 minutes to Donnie's house. When Jan gets to Donnie's house, she remembers that the 11 o'clock news was just about coming on. And Jan is exhausted. She hasn't been sleeping well lately, and she's been helping Lisa move in. And she did not intend on falling asleep at Donnie's house that night. But the next thing she knows, it's 4 a.m. She kisses Donnie, tells him not to be late picking Robin up for school, and goodbye. She gets in the car, and she heads home. And when she gets home, it's still dark out, so the porch light is on. And she goes to open the door, but she can't get in. Someone has locked that bottom lock. She doesn't think too much about it. This is only Lisa's second night there. Maybe her cat got out, or she had to go to her car. When she came back in, she just forgot, so she went ahead and locked that bottom lock. So Jan goes around to the back. She's going to find a way to try to get into the sliders. When she gets there, she sees that the slider is already open about 12 to 15 inches, and the vertical blinds are stuck behind the fishing poles. Jan goes inside and immediately notices that it's brighter than the way she left it. And she looks in the kitchen, and in the kitchen there's an ironing board that she had set up. But on this ironing board are framed pictures of her daughters that someone had moved from the entertainment center in the living room to the ironing board. This is the moment that Jan knows things are not okay. She turns for the door. She runs to the stairs, runs up the stairs, screaming Robin's name over and over and over. And when she gets upstairs, out of the corner of her eye, she can see that Lisa's still in her bed and she's sleeping. She gets in her room and she sees Robin. Robin is at the foot of the bed on the floor. She's on her knees with her face pushed into the carpet. Her legs are spread apart, exposing her genitals. And there's a pillow underneath Robin to help prop her little butt up in the air. She's still wearing the shirt that she wore to go to bed, but it's pulled up around her neck, so it's exposing the rest of her body. And the underwear that she was wearing are gone. There's blood. There's also a gold and black sex toy laying by her feet. With one hand, Jan calls 911, and with the other hand, she's flipping Robin over to see if she can do CPR, if she's got a pulse, if she has a breath, anything. And as she's doing mouth to mouth and squeezing Robin's nose, she just hears all this congestion, and all she can think is, my baby was crying. She knows, though. She knows Robin is dead. In the second bedroom, Lisa Story is in her bed. She's naked. She's laying on her right-hand side in almost a fetal position. And there's a pillow covering her head. Her room has been ransacked. All of the boxes that she had moved in and didn't feel like unpacking yet had been turned inside out. Things were all over the place. It was a disaster. And law enforcement would later learn that that watch she was so proud of to give Randy, along with a ring and a credit card and her driver's license, are gone. They're nowhere to be found. Now, it's not only Lisa's room, the rest of the house definitely is ransacked as well. Things are just rummaged through. The once tidy, well-organized closet that Jan kept, completely a disaster. Someone had gone through all of it. There's clothes hanging out of the dresser, there's clothes on the ground, there's jewelry on the stairs and in the living room, and someone even went through the cabinets in the bathroom.
All right, we're going to hear more about this case against Joseph Zieler in just
harsh.
Yo.
Ha! You can't hear me because I was muted the entire time. So sorry, everybody.
I messaged you. I was like, I can't hear you.
Jeez Louise. Yep, that's on me. Oh, noob mistake. What is happening with this? Court TV, get your stuff together. And by that, I mean nondescript channel.
Nondescript channel.
Yeah, I'd like totally just flip to another video. Just give us a second. Talks amongst yourselves.
Toadsmax became a member. This is my sister. Hello, sister.
Hi, sis.
It's my sister-in-law.
Let's see here. Let's get past all of this. Really? It wants it. Brr. Don't worry. This is the first video we've done like this, and so I'm still learning the ropes on this front. Once we get this process down, it'll be fine.
I love everybody saying hi. I love how friendly all of our people are.
Toadsmack's an attorney.
My nephew that comes in and says hi to us, Christian,
yes,
that's on here. My sister-in-law that's his mom. It's Christian. Christian likes to come in and say hi to us.
You know, Court TV really doesn't like to stay on the correct video throughout these silly commercials. Truly. Of course I will. Easiest decision ever.
She said she's an attorney. She's not an attorney, but she bought the attorney membership.
I get it now.
Family cult. See, I'm out there still gathering for the...
Gather.
Yep.
Gather. Truly Court TV. Telling y'all.
She's the cheapest degree I have. It's true. She said she was looking for this trial earlier and couldn't find the whole thing too.
Yeah, the whole thing doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Sorry, everybody.
Good night, Kristen.
I'd help if I unmuted it.
They see Robin in the master bedroom, and her eyes are closed, and she's got a frothy white substance coming from her nose and mouth, and her legs are still spread apart, but now she's on her back, because remember, Jan had flipped her over. And they notice that she has bruises on her cheeks, there's blood near and in her vagina, the sex toy is still between her legs, that her white underwear had been cut or pulled off of her, and her nightshirt was still up around her neck. Jan, who's still in complete shock, doesn't even realize that Lisa is dead until she's brought out on a stretcher. Now, both bodies are taken to the District 21 Medical Examiner's office for autopsies. Robin has bruises on her face and body. She's got abrasions on her upper thigh, consistent with her underwear being forcibly ripped off while she resisted. She has multiple injuries to her vagina, deep inside her vagina, and there's semen located in her vagina. Lisa also has bruises and abrasions. She has a bloody, broken nail. She has abrasions that are consistent with her trying to fight back. And Lisa almost bit through her tongue. And you'll hear that it's common when someone is being suffocated and they're trying to get air, that they kind of force their tongue out to try to break it. And she has blood and abrasions on her anal area. The medical examiner determined that the cause of death was suffocation or asphyxiation. The original ME back 33 years ago was Dr. Wallace Graves. He was the chief medical examiner, and he is now no longer with us. He's deceased, so you're going to hear from a Dr. Hernandez, who's currently a medical examiner at District 21, and she's going to go through the injuries in more detail with you. So law enforcement from the Cape Coral Police Department, which I will refer to as CCPD, and the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, which you'll hear FDLE quite often, immediately start the investigation. They're taking photos, video walkthroughs, collecting evidence, dusting for prints, taking statements, knocking on doors. They do everything. You're going to hear from Todd Everly. He's the lead detective at the time. He's going to tell you about the hours and the manpower that was spent trying to locate this killer. Numerous physical items are collected from the crime scene because you never know what's going to be important. There's things like bedding to debris, fingerprints, footprints, papers, pictures, hair, vacuum sweepings from the rug. They even collect the cardboard toilet paper roll from a roll of toilet paper. And for the next 26 years, these items are tested and analyzed over and over, just looking for this killer. You're going to hear that over 300 items were ultimately sent to labs for testing over the years. So this case has three main items that you're going to hear about a lot. You'll probably hear me refer to them as the big three. And these are the items that Cape Coral Police Department and the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and other analysts really focused on. You have the genital swabbings from Robin Cornell that were positive for semen. There's also semen on the sheet that Robin was sleeping in when she was murdered. And the pillowcase from the pillow that was propped under her when Jan found her also has semen on it. And you're going to hear that all three of these pieces, the semen from Robin, from the pillow, and from the sheet, all came from the same contributor or same person or the same man. Now, you're going to hear that over the years, CCPD takes DNA samples from a ton of people. Anyone that they think could possibly be in the area or around at the time, they're trying to get DNA samples from. Anyone that Jan or Lisa knew or worked with, local sex offenders, whenever they'd get a tip, they would get DNA samples just trying to find this person. The fingerprints and footprints, they took hundreds of them from the house. CCPD sent evidence to the labs for testing. FDLE, Indian River, FBI, DNA Labs International, trying to apply new testing methods and trying just to advance the case. But you're going to hear that as the years passed, monumental advancements were happening with DNA. You're going to hear from numerous analysts analyze the DNA. And that's because each one of them is going to hold a piece of this 33-year-old mystery. You're going to hear from a serologist who's going to tell you basically what items tested positive for semen and blood and which items didn't. And then you're going to hear from James Pollock, who was actually the first, he opened the first FDLE lab along with the FBI in Florida. And he does the first DNA testing, and he uses a technique called RFLP, which is out of date these days. And he's going to tell you that he was actually able to get profiles from these 3 items, and that those 3 profiles all came from the same person. You're going to hear from Marcy Scott in 2000. She's also an analyst with FDLE. And this is probably the biggest advancement that was made. This RFLP testing is no longer used. It's now an STR test. This allows them to get a more specific profile of who this killer is. Also in the early 2000s, there's a new tool being used by law enforcement. It's called the Combined DNA Index System, CODIS. And this basically allows known samples of DNA from individuals and DNA samples and profiles from crime scenes that are unknown to be analyzed, and those profiles maintained and checked against each other in order to identify a suspect. So Marcy Scott in 2000 enters the profile into CODIS. After that, you'll hear someone from 2012. Her name is Beth Ordeman, and she took new advancements with DNA and made that profile of Marcy's even stronger. It's even more specific as to who it was. And Robin's family and Lisa's family went year after year with still no answer. In 2016, Detective Christy Jo Ellis with CCPD has been assigned to the case for a few years. And she gets a call from Vicki Bellino, who's an analyst at FDLE. It's September 19th of 2016. Over 26 years and 4 months later, we have a hit. CODIS has identified the individual who left his semen at the crime scene and on Robin Cornell back in 1990. We have a name to put with the DNA found at the scene and a face that goes with the killer. Joseph Adam Zieler, a name no one in the investigation or any of the witnesses had ever heard of. At the time in 1990, he was 28 years old. He'd been living in Lee County the entire time, most recently in North Fort Myers, with his girlfriend Bonnie that he had been with since about 2 weeks after the murder. In 2016, he's 54 years old.
Advancements in DNA testing and technology.
Oh, good night. Good grief. Let me guess. Another commercial?
You know my favorite ring, though, man. It was 87. And Larry missed that jump shot.
Are you seriously talking about?
All right. Anyways.
They like to interrupt their stuff.
Yeah. This is so silly. They pay like half a cent on the dollar. It's not even like a thing. Oh my gosh, come on. Wait, Yale.
One thing that I've seen people talking about too is that keep in mind that this is a cold case, so 33 years. So it's really interesting to hear how, they were able to keep all this. But it is sad to have, obviously, like things that we cover, these are sad things. But the good part about this is that these families are able to have justice and have this feeling of, finally having answers after 33 years. So this is a huge moment for them. So it is sad. There is, anything involving the kids, and especially what, anybody, but especially the kids. You all know how I get with the kids. But it's a huge deal that these families are able to finally get this guy put up, and possibly put down for what he did. This is a big moment for them.
And I would love to fast forward, but they don't make it that way, and I can't do it. And I wish I could, but I can't. There's a lot of things I wish I could do with this. I'm going to try and find some solutions. So, all right. And we're going to be back now.
Can't hear.
Oh. Doggone it. All right, hold on. I didn't want you guys to hear the silly commercial. We don't actually...
He's arrested for an unrelated charge. But the result of that is his mouth is swabbed for DNA. That DNA is put into CODIS. That's how we get the match. At the time of the murders, he's living in Cape Coral, and he works at Marine Concepts of Cape Coral, which is very close to Jan's house. So in September of 2016, the day after the CODIS hit, CCPD brings Joseph Zieler there to talk to him. And from the word go, he is evasive. He tells them that in 1998, he had a motorcycle accident and has no memory of anything that happened the 8 years before that. Doesn't know his parents' name, doesn't know if he's ever even been to Cape Coral. He knows nothing. He makes it sound like he's completely helpless after this motorcycle accident, has no memory, and his girlfriend Bonnie has to take care of him because he's almost an invalid. And when confronted with the murders, he knows nothing. He doesn't know the people, the places. He has no memory. But you're also going to hear a statement that he gave to law enforcement in August when he was originally arrested on that unrelated crime. And he knows facts and can answer questions. He told them how he used to work in Cape Coral and has been with Bonnie for almost 26 years, and how he knows where he was the day his son was born in 1991. You're going to hear directly from the defendant's mouth in phone calls that he makes to Bonnie. He's instructing her how to get a bondsman and put up the house for collateral, sell off his possessions, how she can become his power of attorney. Clearly someone that is capable of taking care of himself. There are two different Joseph Zielers, the one you meet before being confronted with the murders and the one after. You're also going to hear cryptic talk between the defendant and Bonnie after he's confronted by Cape Coral with the murders about something that happened back in 1990, and now he's worried about it coming up and biting him in the ass. You're also going to hear about a letter that he wrote to Bonnie. And in this letter, he pleads for Bonnie to bond him out because there's a good chance I'm going to prison for the rest of my life because of where the things crept. And I can't help what transpired before I met you. I can only say it stopped. I don't want things to creep back in and become violent again. I've hid in that room afraid of things for the last 20 years. And now that this has happened, there'll be no more chance to hide. If it happens, it's what it is to be. I'll turn myself in and won't run off. You're going to hear from Bonnie, and she's going to tell you that the defendant has no problem with his memory before 1998. He can remember names, dates, employers, events. So the state is going to present to you calls and letters and recordings and pictures, testimony and physical evidence. But this is what is most important. The semen that is found on the bedsheet where Robin was sleeping when she was murdered matches the defendant to a frequency at over 1 in 700 billion. And it's actually even better than that. But FDLE stops at 700 billion because the human mind can't even fathom a number bigger than that.
800 billion?
In the matching semen on the pillowcase from the pillow from underneath Robin is 1 in 450 million and 100% consistent with the defendant's DNA that's found on the bedsheet. And the semen in Robin, 1 in 360,000 and 100% consistent with the defendant's DNA that's found on the bedsheet and found on the pillowcase. It's the numbers that prove the defendant killed Robin Cornell and Lisa Story. Now, samples were taken from Lisa's Story, but a lot of them were insufficient to actually get any DNA off of them and to analyze. But you're going to hear that in 2008, CCPD did send a hair to DLI Labs, And this was a hair that was found on Lisa Story's body. And they analyzed it, and the profile matches the defendant at 1 in 16 million. So fortunately, enough evidence was left at the scene, and after 26 years of running test after test, and these first tests consumed a lot of the evidence that was just completely done in the process of testing. But we still have enough evidence, and that's how we got here today. The evidence puts the defendant at the crime scene on both of the victims' bodies. And from statements he makes to Bonnie, it's clear that he knows he's been caught even before law enforcement does. Now, you're going to spend the next few days listening to a lot of testimony and seeing a lot of exhibits. And at the conclusion, the state will have proved beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty of murdering Robin Cornell and guilty of killing Lisa Story. And we're going to ask you to return a verdict of guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder.
Thank you, Holly Berry, for the gift of 5 memberships. We appreciate that a whole heck of a lot. Let's see here. Amanda S., Ellen G., Holly Lipsy, Christine Wrench, and Jennifer Marie. Welcome to the cult. Pull yourself a juror chair. And on top of that, grab yourself some Kool-Aid. Welcome to the cult. We do all
Thank you so much for that.
here.
We love the gifted memberships, and we love to see people get excited when their name is in green. So we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right. So now we're going to move to the defense. I think I see exactly what Bob was talking about.
Yeah. So there's not a lot of ways that you can get around like 1 in 700 billion or whatever they said.
Yeah, it was 700 billion.
Crazy. Yeah. So he gone. It's sad to hear the stuff that's happening, but it is so cool to hear how they are able to test this stuff this many years later and nail his butt. So I love that part.
Yeah, and the break in the case came in 2016. He was arrested August 27, 2016 for aggravated battery and assault against his son, and his DNA was taken then. So he has a long line. So he's charged with first-degree homicide, sexual battery, and burglary is what he's charged with. Somebody had asked, Teresa asked about that. So those are the charges. And so let's move on into the defense's opening, because I'm sure he's got a great counter to this, right?
It's got to be better than John Thomas, right?
Well, yeah.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Morning.
My privilege and pleasure to represent Mr. Zieler here today, along with Mr. Hollander. My opening statements can be short because, in all candor, we don't have to prove anything. It's the state's burden of proof in this case. We don't have to disprove anything. Mr. Zieler, if he elects to testify, may testify, or he may not testify. If he doesn't testify, you can't hold that against him, because he's exercising his constitutional right. And you told us early on that you wouldn't hold that against him, that you wouldn't consider it, you wouldn't consider what he might have said had he taken the stand. But ultimately, it's his choice, and we will discuss that once the state rests their case. We talk about, in opening statement, what evidence will tend to show. The reason we say tend to show is because this isn't a script, it's not a movie, it's not a TV show. We don't know exactly what's going to come out. We've obviously spoken to witnesses and we've interviewed them and the like, but we don't know exactly what questions are going to be asked, or more importantly, how the court is going to rule on various objections. So I like to use the phrase tend to show, because if it doesn't show you exactly what I have told you, or what Ms. Russell has told you, it's not because we're trying to mislead you at this point in the case. It's because we don't know exactly what's going to come out of people's mouths. We don't know exactly what evidence is going to be admitted into evidence. So just bear with us. We're just trying to give you an outline at this point in time.
The tie looks like sperm.
There were many, many individuals that had gone through this little apartment, friends, acquaintances of Jan Cornell, and the other people who lived there off and on. That's why the Cape Coral Police Department, when they investigated this, literally went out and interviewed hundreds of people. They interviewed them. They took DNA from a lot of them. They took hair samples from a lot of them. What should be significant to you, though, is they didn't talk to Mr. Zieler. They didn't take any DNA from Mr. Zieler. They didn't take any hair from Mr. Zieler until 26 years later. And why was that? Because he was not on their radar. He was not a suspect in this case. Jan Cornell couldn't provide any real assistance to the Cape Coral Police Department about Joseph Zieler because he was basically nobody at that point in time. There's a lot of physical evidence that you will entertain, and I agree with the council. Some of it gets used up in testing. There were dozens and dozens of hair samples taken from inside the apartment. There were fingerprints, there were footprints. Obviously, there were other body samples that were taken from inside the apartment, supporting the fact that there were many people who had been through the apartment. But there are two items that I think are critical and I think you're going to need to pay attention to. One is the watch. The state's already told you about the watch with the inscription on the back of it. That inscription makes it unique. At no point in time did Mr. Zieler have that watch. The other thing, which is even more important, are the photographs on the ironing board. We anticipate the state's going to provide you with at least one photograph depicting the photographs that were on the ironing board. Why are they significant? Well, they're significant because somebody took the time to go over to the entertainment center, retrieve all 4 of these photographs, walk them back, put them on the ironing board in a particular order. I submit to you that this is somebody who knew Jan Cornell, who knew the family. There's a reason why this person did it. We can't speculate as to why they did it, but you're going to see a photograph and you're going to hear testimony about these photographs that were placed on the ironing board. And you're going to get down to, why would somebody do this? Who could this person be? What relationship could they have with the Cornells or Miss Story? I'm going to leave you with a word.
A word.
This is not something that the state has to prove. It's not an element of the offense.
That's not a word.
It's still something that pops up in these types of cases. That word is motive. Mr. Zieler had no motive to commit this crime. Mr. Zieler did not commit this crime. They will not be able to prove it beyond every reasonable doubt. And when we come back to you after closing arguments, after you entertain the law that you have to apply to the facts that you're going to find in this case, you'll return the only 2 verdicts that you can: not guilty on the charge of first-degree murder. Thank you for your time.
Wow.
Okay, first of all,
just wow.
State doesn't have to prove guilt or motive. They do have to prove guilt.
No.
That's part of the whole shebang. They don't have to prove motive. So that's number 1. Number 2, motive. There's motive and sexual assault are not hand in hand. Like that's a totally different. I mean, murder has motive, yes, but both the victims were sexually assaulted as well. That's a totally different ballgame. That's motive is not. It does not apply to that in the same way that it does to murder.
Yep. I honestly don't think he thought about this opening until like that morning, at all. And it was just.
He's like, I'm just gonna wing it. I'm just gonna. We'll just wing it.
For somebody who thinks that the state has nothing, that they can't prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, he sure acts like they already have.
Yeah.
You know, so, yep. 80s Music Man, you're right. This 13th juror has spoken. Oh, okay. So the next video, obviously has a series of commercials, but I'm learning. We're gonna flip back and forth, and it'll be fine. So this is the 11-year-old victim's mom who is testifying. From what I've heard, this does get, as difficult as you'd think it would be. So we'll let you know that now. As in the first opening for the prosecution, it was difficult. So we'll give you that warning now. And obviously this is the victim's mother. So it's been 33 years. Shireen says the mom's awesome. Shireen's been watching the live stream of this during the day. And so she's kind of got a good feel for what's coming. So she won't, I feel bad. I feel weird saying spoiler, but she won't tell us kind of exactly everything that's happening ahead of time. But she does have a really good grasp on the case. And so here we go.
For the record, your name, please.
Jane Cornell Batista.
So Cornell was your maiden name?
Correct.
And are you married to Don Batista?
Correct.
Are you Robin Cornell's mother?
Yes, I am.
And what was Robin's birth date?
November 30th, 1978.
On May 9th and 10th of 1990, how old was Robin?
11 and a half.
And where did you and Robin live at that time?
We lived at the Courtyard North in Cape Coral.
Can you kind of describe where that is for the jurors?
About 3 blocks behind the Cape Coral Hospital.
And is that the Cape Coral Hospital that sits on Del Prado Boulevard?
That is correct.
Would the nearest intersection on Del Prado be Del Prado and Vizcaya then?
That is correct.
And the courtyards, is that to the east or the west of Del Prado Boulevard?
It's right behind the hospital.
Okay. So let's say towards Fort Myers or away from Fort Myers?
Away from Fort Myers.
Okay. That'd be west. Right. Is there an industrial park on the south side of Vizcaya?
That is correct.
And in 1990, was there a restaurant known as Mugs and Jugs nearby?
Yes.
Did you and Robin sometimes go there for dinner and things like that?
Yes, we did.
Did they have arcade games that you could play at?
Yes.
Oh.
Do you still live in Cape Coral?
I do.
33 years later?
33 years later, yes, I do.
Have you always lived in Cape Coral?
Prior to the murder, I moved from North Fort Myers to the Courtyards in September of 1989.
So you're saying in September of 1989 is when you moved into that condominium?
Yes.
And you've spent most of your adult life in the Cape Coral area?
North Fort Myers and Cape Coral.
In May of 1990, who else lived in your condominium in the Courtyards North?
It was Robin, myself. I had an occasional friend would come and stay, and then Lisa moved in.
And who was the occasional friend?
Leanne Deller.
How did you know her?
We actually worked together prior to my job at the hospital.
In 1990, before May 9th and 10th, who else lived in the condominium with you?
There was Jeannie.
And who's Jeannie?
My daughter, Jeannie.
Okay, and at that time, you said Robin was 11 at that time. Is that Robin's older or younger?
Robin's older sister, yes.
Sister. And what was her age when she stayed with you in the North Courtyards North apartments?
18, and she was 19 in March.
So in that early part of the year, between January and May of 1990, did it come a time when she moved out?
Florida.
Jeannie, that is.
Yes, that is correct.
And why did Jeannie move out, if you know?
We had an argument.
What was that about?
Rules.
Did she have a boyfriend at the time?
She did.
And did she move in with that boyfriend?
She did.
Was part of the argument related to her boyfriend and her?
Yes, it was.
So I'm talking about the time period when you, Jeannie, and Robin lived in the apartment before Lisa Story moved in, okay? Yeah. During that time, how many bedrooms were there?
2.
And what was the setup and who stayed where during that time when it was you, Jeannie, and Robin?
Well, when Jeannie was living there, Robin and her actually shared a room, but Robin mostly slept with me. But all of their things were in the same room.
So it was a 2-bedroom condominium?
Yes.
And how many floors?
2.
Both bedrooms are?
On the 2nd floor.
When Jeannie moved out, how did it come about that Lisa Story moved in?
We had been talking at work, and I told her that my daughter had moved out, and it actually started off kidding. She asked if I wanted to rent out a room, and then we actually started talking more about it, and I thought it might be a good idea because I could use the help financially.
And you were a single mother at that time?
Yes.
And where would, in 1990, where was Robin's father at that time?
He lived in Cape Coral.
And were you in communication with him during that time?
From time to time.
And had you been married to him?
Yes, we were.
When was your divorce to her father?
Robin was about 10 months old when we got divorced.
So you were a single mother almost all of Robin's life?
Yes, I was.
What type of work did you do at the hospital?
I worked in the outpatient lab.
How long did you work there before May of 1990? Just months, years is what?
About 10, 12 years.
And after 1990 May, did you continue working at the hospital?
I did.
So until when?
I left the hospital probably about 3 or 4 years after the murder and went to work for another doctor.
And what type of work do you do for the other doctor?
I was a general office person, and then I came to manage 2 of our satellite offices for the practice.
Are you still working outside of the home?
6 days a month.
In what, that same similar work?
The same job I left when I retired.
Which is with a doctor's office?
Yes.
You remember what type of work that Lisa Story did at the hospital?
Lisa worked for what they called the foundation. It was the money-raising portion of the hospital where when donations or there were functions, Lisa, that was her job as an administrative secretary to coordinate these
Holly
projects
gifted 10 memberships.
And let me go back to one thing in case the name comes up. What was your ex-husband and Robin's father's first name?
Robin Cornell.
And she gifted another 10 memberships.
R-O-D?
R-I-D.
Thank you.
Holly.
Let me take you now to the evening of May 9th of 1990.
Thank you so much.
During that evening at your condominium.
Robin and myself, of course. Donnie, Lisa, a friend of Lisa's by the name of Al May. Later that evening, his future wife joined him. Her name was Beth, and Lou Deller.
All right, now we're getting...
No, we're not, ma'am. we're not getting anywhere. Da-da. Oh, man.
We'll find a way around that. Thank you so much, Holly Berry. That's amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
My good gracious.
All kinds of new cult members.
Yes. While this is going on, let's read these folks real quick here. Sweet 65, Jen Jops, Leven, Becca Rebel, Lily's mom, Mighty Heidi, Miss Kim, Pauline, Trial Watcher, Colleen, Alicia, Brittany Dobson, Misty Joe, Dee Dee Lamb, Carrie B, Carla N, Chris King, Blue Pearl Girl, Dispatch Kit, Minderella. Welcome to the cult. Pull up your seat and grab a cup of Kool-Aid, please. And we're back to this whole Court TV not wishing to stay on the same video.
Amy K asked, how do we become members? There is an option to join. And if you are on an iPhone or an iPad, it's a lot more difficult. I know that there were some workarounds with that, like if you did it through the Safari,
the browser,
the browser instead of the app. There's a way to do it that way, or if you have your our members are amazing, and they are very generous, and they like to gift memberships. So if you have your gifts turned on, then you are also able to get memberships gifted to you.
Yes, and then if you still have some issues, some of our mods can reach, can talk to you in chat as well. So that is definitely a thing.
Yes, and I see the site for the putting the website up, the 13thYear.live. For those of you who have joined in now, 13thYear.live is the website that we launched for the stream, and all of our funny stuff is on there, and all of our ridiculousness, the Trial Daddies calendar, and we will also have our schedule on there for the new schedule that we're going to be doing with the regular day stream type stuff, and then the night court.
Yes. All right. Heading on back. And Holly Berry just gifted another 10 memberships. Holly Berry. Good gracious.
Holly, thank you.
I'm going to let those go to a few people. And right before we switch back to the video, I'll give the names of the new people. But while we're at it, everybody's in green. It's the best. We love it.
I love that. Thank you so much, Holly Berry. You're the best. That's awesome.
We're a solid 26 away from 600. Yeah, right. Oh god,
crazy.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so hi Amy K, Jennifer Cabano, Alfreda. I'm gonna mess this up. I don't want to mess it up. Alfreda Rosler. Maybe it's Wrestler. It's probably easier than I think it is. Dutchy, Kib Kitty, Jen 405, Samantha Michelle, K Rob, Allison Wonderland, Gossip, Rumor, and Innuendo. Welcome. Oh my goodness gracious. Holy cow. Jeez.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you so much. All right. Back to it, where I'm not blocking the witness any longer.
Anything going on that evening of significance?
Just moving the rest of Lisa's things into the apartment. Trying to get it somewhat settled in, her boxes here and there. And we were watching a basketball game.
You had lived there about 9 months at that point, is that correct?
About 6 to 9 months. It was September.
And the date of Lisa Story's move-in was what?
The 9th.
were she moving items of hers in the day earlier, also on May 8th?
Just, I believe, some clothes and some boxes.
Was most of the moving for Lisa's story then completed on May 9th of 1990?
Yes.
And people who you mentioned being there, were they assisting with the moving?
Yes.
Now, you mentioned Donnie. Who is Donnie?
I'm sorry?
Who was Donnie then?
Donnie we were dating at the time.
And when did you and Donnie Batista begin dating?
How long had we been dating?
Before the May 9th date.
About 9 months, almost a year.
Thank you.
And then become more exclusive at any time before May of 1990?
Yes.
And about what time? I mean, when you started dating someone, when did it begin?
Probably about January, February. We weren't seeing other people. We just saw each other.
And where did he live?
Off of Cultural Parkway in Cape Coral.
So between that time when you were dating him in May 1990, would you have occasion to spend time at his apartment?
I did.
And how far was that in mileage or minutes of a driving?
About 4 minutes.
And when you did go to his apartment to visit, or did you ever spend the night or stay over?
Rarely. I didn't stay at his place very often.
Okay. Overnight?
Overnight.
But you visited often, if I understood.
I did visit.
When you visited him, what was the protocol in your home at the condominium about who would take care of Robin or while you were gone, or was she allowed to just stay on her own?
No, she wouldn't stay home by herself. She would either be with her dad, or prior to Jeannie moving out, Jeannie would be with her, or she'd spend the night with her girlfriend.
How much time went by between Jeannie moving out and Lisa moving in?
About 3 weeks.
When Jeannie was there, did she sometimes act as a babysitter for Robin then?
Yes, she did.
Did that cause any issues between you and her?
No, it was the boyfriend.
Yeah, during the 3 weeks that Jeannie was moved out and before Lisa Story moved in on May 8th and 9th, were you able to spend time at Donnie's?
No.
And why was that?
Because again, Robin, she was not the kind of kid that said, I'm staying home by myself. And we were just busy doing things. I mean, we saw him, but I didn't stay there.
At Donnie Batista's?
Pardon?
At Donnie Batista's, right?
Correct.
And when I was asked to call a witness a few minutes ago, I called Robin Cornell, Jan Cornell, Jan Batista, and you became Jan Batista when?
November 25th.
Oh, that's
November 30 years ago. We've been married for 30 years.
That's where it's getting at. Going back to that evening, other than the moving in, was anything else of significance going on that evening? Before you left for Donnie's?
Yes, I was a runner. I ran every day. And I did my 5-mile run. Robin stayed and did her homework. And then her and I went to eat.
Okay. Where did you go to eat?
We went to Perkins in Cape Coral.
Tell us about
Perkins.
that.
I love Perkins.
Tell us about that.
Lisa was there because she was waiting for her other friends to come to help Donnie move the heavier stuff. So she wasn't going to go with us. So Robin and I were going to go to Perkins and I asked her, did she want me to bring her back food? And she did. She ordered something to eat. And we brought it back, and she had given me money. And it was her last 20 bill because we were getting paid that week. And I remember giving her the change when we got back from the restaurant.
Did you and Robin eat at Perkins?
We did. We ate at the restaurant.
And after Perkins, where did you go?
We stopped at this little store on Del Prado in Vizcaya, and Robin went in and got a bag of candy, and then we went home.
So we're about to hear more of the very sinister details in this case.
Good grief. Okay. Well, we're back. Hi, everybody. It's the two of us. And Lucy.
And Lucy.
Lucy's here. Everybody say hi to our official mascot. She doesn't know it, but...
Holly Berry.
Holly, I hope you haven't been drinking, and tomorrow you look and you're just like, what happened?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
My goodness gracious.
Yeah, and for our new members who haven't met Lucy, she's our little mascot. On my very first stream, she was my co-host, and on my second stream, I tricked JT into it, and he has worked a lot harder than she does. So we appreciate that. She was my first little co-host, and actually, because I was a nervous wreck, and because it was my first time ever doing it, and so I sat there, and she was like my emotional support that night because I was terrified. And then, but she didn't do anything. She's lazy. She just lays there and wants, treats and cuddles. So she was cute, but she was a terrible co-host. So now she's just the mascot.
Amy gifted 5 memberships. Amy H51, thank you very, very much. Hello to Unholy Saint 88, Kayla Griggs, Misbehaving, Tommy Bowes, Sally, welcome. Pull up that juror's chair and grab a cup of Kool-Aid.
Thank you so much.
You made me go into falsetto.
It happens.
It happens.
Was there another restaurant or place, Mugs and Jugs, you would go to?
The Mugs and Jugs on Vizcaya.
Mugs and Jugs?
Was that somewhere you guys went on May 9th also?
We were there earlier on May 9th before we had gone to dinner, before some of Lisa's things were moved. We kind of met up there. It's where we met with Donnie and we met Lisa to get the plan to get her things moved. She didn't have that much.
I just want to get the sequencing there if I could. You ran first, is that right? You did your job?
No, I actually ran after. We met at Mugs and Jugs.
Okay.
And Robin was with me at that time. We met Lisa and Donnie was there. And then they moved some stuff and Robin and I went home. And then they came back to the house. And that's when we decided to go eat. And then I ran after I got home.
After Perkins?
Yes.
And did Robin sometimes run with you?
Bar.
Robin usually ran with me every night. But she had homework and she wanted to stay and do her homework.
So where you ran, where would that be?
I had a pretty regular route. I would leave my apartment and head towards the Cape Coral Hospital from my apartment. And they had a track behind their hospital. And it was a 1/4-mile track, so we would run that. Then I would leave there and run back up the street the condo was on and come back around and go back to the house. It was a pretty routine run to get the 5 miles.
And how often would you say Robin accompanied you?
Almost every night, except for Wednesdays.
Why not Wednesday?
She had catechism, and she like to go to church. She didn't want to miss her catechism class.
On the night of May 9th, you said she was doing her homework while you ran, right?
She was doing her homework at my dining room table.
Did she complete her catechism classes?
She did.
When was that?
That was in April.
And in April, does that result or end with a...
Yeah, she made her first Holy Communion at St. Andrew's Church, April 23rd.
At age 11?
Yes.
Is it usual that you do that a little earlier than 11?
It is.
And how did it come to be that it happened in April rather than earlier?
Robin wanted to make sure she wanted to belong to the church before she committed to making her Holy Communion, because she had been to several churches. And then she decided prior to the Holy Communion that she wanted to be a member of St. Andrew's Church.
And is it you're feeling that was her decision to do that, or was it you putting her through it?
It was her decision. When she started going to catechism and mass, that's what she wanted to do.
When we returned on May 9th in the evening then, what time was it, if you recall, that you left for Donnie's that evening?
Between 10:30 and 11, because the basketball game was going into overtime. And we were just going to go watch the last little bit of it at his place. So it was almost closer to 11.
And the people that you mentioned there, other than Robin and Lisa, did they stay at the home till 11, or had they left?
No, they had all left prior.
Holly just gifted 5 more memberships.
About what time in the evening would they have left?
I'm going to say...
Thank you.
I'll get everybody in a bit.
At 9-ish.
So when you packed up to leave for Donnie Batista's, who was left in the condominium at that time?
Robin and Lisa.
Did Lisa know you were leaving?
Yes.
What did you ask her?
When we had talked about going over to Donnie's, she said, go ahead and go. Her and Robin both said, go ahead and go. And then I thought about it because it was so late, and I normally wasn't out on a weeknight that late because I went to work so early. And I actually went down the stairs, and I came back up because I wasn't going to go because it was late. And Robin said, Mom, go ahead and go. I figured she wanted me to go so she could get on the phone.
Was Lisa, yeah. But who would she get on the phone with?
Her friend Jolie.
And how old was Jolie?
11. And then I told Lisa, I said, I don't want you to think I'm asking you to move in here to be a babysitter. And she said, will you get out of here and will you go? She said, we're fine, aren't we, Robin? And they said they were fine.
So can you recall then about what time you arrived at Donnie Batista's that night?
About 5 to 11. It was only a few minutes away.
And what was your intent on how long to stay there?
Until the game was over.
Which would have been?
Pardon?
Which would have been? About what time?
It probably been about 11:30.
And how long did you actually spend there?
I ended up falling asleep, and I didn't get up until 4 a.m.
How did you get up? Is it with an alarm or with a...
No, I woke up in a panic because I just woke up, and I was in a panic because I had to be to work at 4:30.
Now, obviously the time of year, May 9th and May 10th, that would have been last week if it was this year, correct?
Yes.
And this is during the basketball playoff season or time period?
Yes.
When you woke up, did you then, where did you go then?
I woke up, told him I was leaving, and I drove right home.
Time to drive home?
A few minutes, 4, 5. It was very close.
In a more general way, can you tell the jury, because I'm going to ask a lot more details of when you returned home, but in a general way, what did you find out had happened to Robin and Lisa between 11 p.m. on May 9th of 1990 and 4 a.m. on May 10th of 1990?
What did I find out?
When you got home?
When I came home,
To the form of the question, Judge.
What did you discover when you got there?
when I got there, I discovered once I got in the house, which you discussed the lock issue, I had to go around to the side.
I'm going to go into some details, but what did you ultimately discover?
That they were dead.
Oh my gosh, that poor mother. Let me bring in my guest.
Oh,
Oh, hey. And varicose veins. Oh, good grief. I'm glad they found him too, Angie. I'm glad they found him too. Just to let you guys know, as she goes into more about what she found and things are going to get more difficult. And so, I just want to give you that heads up. So, goodness. New members.
Oh,
San or San. It's one of the two. I don't want to mess it up. San Richardson, Miss Chris, Tina Jones, Petrified, and Momo Shark. I think the names are getting like awesome, like more and more awesome as the gifts happen.
yeah.
All right.
I love it. That's awesome. And thank you so much for those gifted memberships. We love those.
My daughter, Robin Cornell.
In Exhibit 1.
All right.
At Exhibit 1, and who is that depicted in Exhibit 1?
That is my daughter, Robin Cornell.
Aw.
Can you tell me a little bit about Robin?
Robin is 11 and a half years old. She went to Tropicales Elementary School. She was a great student.
What grade was she in?
She was in the 5th grade.
What were some of the things she liked to do as an 11-year-old?
She liked to jump rope. She liked to climb trees, swim. Anything that involved the outdoors, she was for it.
Who was her best friend?
Her best friend was Jolie Lowe.
What did they like to do together?
Climb trees, swim, build forts.
Aw.
What was her Robin's favorite food?
Excuse me.
Her favorite food?
Robin's favorite food was chicken nuggets
She also liked French fries.
and French fries and corn dogs. That was main staples.
You tell me that she was kind of a prankster.
Very much a prankster.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we like to watch scary movies, and we'd watch the scariest movies we could get from the video store, and then we'd spend the whole rest of the week scaring each other to death. She would get down by the bathroom door, and you'd walk out the bathroom door, and she'd grab your leg or hide behind stuff. She put a big rubber cockroach in a brand new jar of jelly one time, knowing that I would take it back to the store and scream their face off.
Aw.
I did realize it was rubber before I did that, but
Get it,
stuck
Mama.
it down in a jar of jelly because she knew that when I came home from being out that I would go make a sandwich and that I would find it. She joked a lot.
Oh, that's really cute.
The evening of May 9th, 1990, was because Lisa had moved in. What was Robin doing about moving her stuff if she didn't move her stuff?
She had moved that evening. The day before and that evening, she had moved her things out of that room.
To where?
To my bedroom, in my closet.
Can you just zoom in on the girl's picture, please, and not him? That'd be great.
She said it was.
That hair.
I made her do it.
All her clothes?
Pardon?
All of her clothes?
All of her clothes, and she had to put them away and fold them and hang them up. And her games.
She had a lot of keepsakes?
She did.
And did she set those up in the master bedroom with you?
She put them in my master bedroom. She collected porcelain dolls, and we put her shelf in my bedroom. She had her dolls in my bedroom.
What a fascinating left side of a head. Can we move on from this, please?
Just like that other camera guy that was so bad.
When you left at 11, or just before 11 p.m. that night, your last conversation with her?
Yes.
Tell us what that was.
She was laying in the bed with her
That's
cat
why
pepper.
I put our heads where we're at
She
so
had
we can
just
cover
got a
her
new
face.
watch. She got a new Swatch watch for her Holy Communion. And she was holding the watch up against the cat's ear and said, the cat didn't like it. The cat was protesting. And I said, don't do that. She said, they like that. That'll make her go to sleep. I said, that's dogs. And then I told her I was going to go and that I loved her. She asked me if she could call Jolie because she was allowed to go to the ball game the next day. And I told her yes, but not to be on the phone because I was going to call and check. And we told each other we loved each other, and I left. And she told me to tell Donnie to not be late picking her up for school.
Is that something, was an issue with Donnie sometimes being punctual?
Yes.
Did that bother Robin?
Yes.
Was she, because you guys were exclusive between January and May, had he taken a role in helping to take her to school because of your work?
He did, because she changed schools. We had moved towards the end of the school year. And we kept her at Tropic Isles, but we had to provide transportation to and from school.
And Donnie was helping with that.
And Donnie was helping with that.
We'll move to slide 3, exhibit 3. Who is in this photograph or photographs on exhibit 3? Who is in the
that is Lisa's story.
Tell me a little bit about Lisa, please.
So there was
I met
a connection?
Lisa probably 5 years prior to her moving into my house. Our offices were very close to each other at the hospital. And that's basically how we met. And then after meeting, we found out that we had several of the same friends. And we went to a couple of the same places.
Oh, his face.
And we would go smoke. We had a little smoking place where we'd go smoke and chat.
Remember how old she was at that time?
32.
Was she in a relationship?
She was.
He looks like a
Do you
rat.
know the person that she was in a relationship?
His name was Randy Richards.
How well did you know him?
I did not know him. I had not met him yet.
Had you seen him, though? Did you know him to recognize him at that point?
No, I did not.
And what did you know about their relationship? Like how long it had been going on or anything like that?
It had been going on almost a couple years, and Lisa was very much in love with Randy.
You know where he lived at that time?
He lived in Naples.
And Was there a discussion, without telling me exactly what the discussion was, it's just subject matter, was there a discussion about Randy that night?
Yes.
And did it have to do with his birthday coming up?
It had to do with his birthday coming up.
You've joined us
Was there a
for a
gift that you were made aware of that evening that Lisa had bought for his birthday?
Yes.
And what was that?
That was a Seiko watch that she had engraved for him. And
Did she show you the engraving?
Yes.
Can you tell us what it said?
To Randy, all my love, Lisa, May 11th, 1990.
May 11th?
May 11th was his birthday.
And what was Lisa doing with the watch that night while Robin was doing her homework and the basketball game was on?
She asked me for tape and scissors because she wanted to wrap it for him, but she wanted to show it to us first, and she did. And then she wrapped it.
I want to ask you a few questions about the condominium that you were in at that time between I guess you said September of 1989 through past May of 1990.
Correct.
I'm going to show you exhibit 6. Do you recognize this as a layout of the Courtyard North complex?
Yes.
And is that the complex in which you and Robin and Lisa were living on May 9th and 10th of 1990?
Yes.
And what street would you enter from to go to your condominium?
You would come off of 12th Avenue that ran right behind the Cape Coral Hospital. And then...
So in the center, do you see what's designated as the clubhouse?
I would have...
And pool?
Yes.
In relationship to the clubhouse and pool, where was your unit?
I was this side of it.
In relation to the photo, is it up, down, or
Down.
left or right?
It was down right where the pool and the clubhouse are. We were... Can't see that real well, but...
All the units are numbered in the photograph, correct?
Correct.
What unit was your?
100.
And the 100 unit is here where I'm pointing south or below the clubhouse and pool area. Is that the unit you were in?
That is correct.
And where would you park your cars in relation to that 100 unit? You and Lisa, I mean.
Our parking...
Go right, left, up, or down?
You have to go back up and on that walkway to the parking.
Here. Did you park?
To the parking lot. I parked in front of unit 98. Oddly, that was my parking place.
So this is 98, and then there's 3 spots.
Mr. Feinberg, can you stand on the other side of the screen? Thank you.
There's 3 spots near 98, and then there's several, probably about 8 or 9 spots to the right of 98 here, instead of the left, which was your area for parking.
My assigned parking place for the complex was right in front of unit 98.
So where there's 3 spots.
And that, right.
But where did you routinely park?
Right there.
Where? Are all the units that are represented by like diamond or square shapes that are on a diamond shape, are they the same in the complex?
Yes. Every one of them looks alike.
You said your unit was a 2-story unit you've testified
The
to.
townhouse, yes.
Are each of the 4 units in each square 2-story units?
No. The unit 98, that was my assigned parking, that was only a 1-story unit.
Okay. So each square with 4 units has how many 2-story and how many 1-story units?
I believe the unit that I was in had the 1-story and then 2 townhouses behind it.
And you were in the two-story part of it.
I was in the two-story.
Okay, I'm showing you what's been admitted as State's Exhibit. Sorry, this one. This is State Exhibit 7. Does that show the parking area next to the Unit 100 and Unit 98?
Yes, that's my car right in front of Unit 98.
And is that the car to the right or to the left in the photograph?
It's on the left.
It kind of has a two-tone roof.
Correct.
You remember what make that car was, for the record?
Malibu. I think.
The car to the right of that, that's white. It looks like it's 2 spaces over. Whose car was that?
That was Lisa's car.
Between the two cars is the 2-story unit. Is that your 100 unit, or is that the other 2-story unit in of that building?
No, that is another unit. That is not my unit.
Going to Exhibit 8. Is that your car again to the right in the photograph?
That is correct.
And the walkway that would go to Unit 100?
That is correct.
In the left side of the photograph, it looks like some people standing there in front of a line or some tape. Is that how the unit appeared after you discovered Robin and Lisa dead? You recall a tape being put up?
I saw it the next day. I did not see it that night. I saw it the next
And this is a daytime photo following your discovery, correct?
Right.
And were there news personnel with the camera set up out in front of your condo? And are those depicted in the left, kind of under the trees in the photograph?
All right, let's get a break in here. Emotional testimony from the mother detailing the loss of.
Oh, man.
You know, that's hard to hear, but hearing the story that she was talking about like with the roach, like the fake roach and the jelly and stuff like that, that was really sweet to hear. I like being able to hear stuff like that because I think it really it reminds us that, you know, these were people, these were, you know, they had personalities and they had memories and they have, you know, all these things. It humanizes it.
This is what I think lawyers would call a proof of life witness. Unfortunately, she's the same person who found them, which means she's also proof of death witness, I believe, is what the case is in this trial. Oh boy.
That's adorable about the roach in the jam. Yeah. That was really cute.
It's true.
She was like, she knows I would have gone up there and yelled their heads off. I thought that was really cute. Aww. Right. He looks like a rat. He has like them beady eyes and that horrible hair.
He looks like the bad guy from Great Mouse Detective. Either people are going to know that reference or they're not. Either way, I'm going to show you a picture.
Okay, because I don't know that reference.
Okay.
Hi, Libby Golightly. We're happy you're here too.
It just reminds me of this fella.
He really does, actually.
That's all I could think of. Like, all I could think of. Yes, 90s Kids Unite. Oh, God. Yes. Yep. It'd be like this, guys, for sure. No, he does look, you're right. He does look evil. He has just absolutely emotionless eyes.
Yeah. I cannot imagine her having to sit across from him and go over all this. But at the same time, you know, I imagine that as hard as it is, that it would feel almost cathartic to finally sit across from him knowing that, you know, like, oh, sucker, I got you this time, you know? Oh, I can't imagine. Tough lady for sure.
Don't speak badly of Templeton. There's nothing wrong with Templeton. I said nothing about Templeton. Templeton was fantastic. He was absolutely fantastic. And now I'm blanking on the voice actor's name, but he's famous. It's going to bother me. Paul Lynde. Paul Lynde was Templeton's voice, and he's amazing. And now we're going to hit play one more time. And by one more time, we're going to have to hit it 3 more times. 2 more times? I don't know. I can't count. Math is
if
hard.
there's any of these that you're having trouble seeing from where you are, I can give you the matching photo that we looked at when you identified them, okay? Just let me know if you need that for some detail, okay? Photograph 9, what part of the building is this showing?
That is in front of my unit right there.
Okay, so we go back to 8, that's shooting at your unit 100 behind the 1-story unit, right?
Correct.
And then we go to photo 9, it's from the opposite, like a 180-degree change, right?
Because
go ahead. I don't want to cut you off. You had something.
Well, I was just going to say they also had a little privacy area along that sidewalk, and then my unit was right on the other side of that, where that walkway is.
So are you talking about the wood fence that's above the walkway?
Right.
So that is the privacy, like lanai or porch area of the 1-story unit next to you?
Yes.
And you also had a area like that?
I had an area like that on mine.
What does Exhibit 10 show that I just put up?
That is my condo right there.
And the number 100 is above the door, for the record?
Yes.
And is this the door, front door of the 2-story unit you lived in with Robin and Lisa in 1990?
Yes, it is.
So you started to mention when I was asking you about what you discovered when you came home that morning of May 10th of 1990, and you said something about the door. So can you tell us a little bit more about that at this point?
I came up to the door and unlocked the deadbolt and turned the bottom, and I couldn't get in because someone locked it.
Okay, and I'm going to back you up on this one a little bit. So when you left around 11 p.m. on May 9th, that's the door you exited?
That is the door I exited, yes.
And I think you said you locked the deadbolt.
I locked the deadbolt.
Earlier you said that. But what was the issue with the doorknob?
A little bit before the murder, I don't know the actual time frame, but the bottom lock they were key-like, but the bottom lock, one day we couldn't get in the door.
1990.
So we couldn't any longer, until I got a new doorknob, use that bottom lock. It was only the deadbolt could be used.
Was Robin aware of that?
Robin was aware of that.
Did you make Lisa Story aware of that?
I did make Lisa aware of it.
Did you tell them anything about the door and how to lock it and secure it that evening?
I reminded them both and said, when I get home, I'll wake you up if I can't get in. And we laughed because they said they wouldn't forget.
So now we move forward to about 4:15 a.m. on May 10th, and you're trying to get in that door.
And I could not.
Did you park in that same area where we saw your car in exhibits, I think it was 7 and exhibit 8?
Yes.
Did you notice anything out of the ordinary in the parking lot area?
I did not.
Did you go down that walkway you described towards unit 100?
Yes.
Did you notice anything out of the ordinary there?
I did not.
Did you see any people in those areas?
I did not.
Any vehicles you didn't recognize?
I did not.
So the first thing out of the ordinary then, unless you know something else, would be when you try to open that.
All right, Mom is talking about that critical.
Good grief. Do they not know how to do this?
No, and you know what's funny? Before I started like really watching trials, that's the only way I was ever able to watch them, and like with commercials and stuff. When I found how to stream them without the commercials, it spoils you, where you're not just seeing the parts that they want you to see, and you get to actually sit there and watch and not have to hear their commentary after everything. When I found that, I was like, oh, where's this been my whole life?
Right. I don't understand. So the only listen, I don't want to badmouth a massive conglomeration, but the only reason that they do this is to drive all the traffic to their website for their ads. There's no reason to do this. You should leave this up on YouTube in order to allow for people to have the information that I don't know. It drives me nuts.
Yeah.
I'm probably just sitting on a soapbox. That's what I'm doing. But it seems like a lot of people in chat agree with me, so I'm going to take that. I'm going to take it and run in case there's a lawsuit. You're all in it with me. All right.
Correct. And when you can't get in at the bottom because of the doorknob, what do you do because of that?
Well, I knocked lightly, and because I didn't want to scare Lisa.
There wasn't any response to your knock?
There wasn't. I thought I heard footsteps, and they were coming, but that's when I left the front door.
And where did you go?
I went around to the side.
Hey, let me bring up Exhibit 11 that's been admitted. Is this the walkway that would go around the side of your unit?
To the back of the closed-in, yes.
All right, so in the center of the photo, is that an air conditioning unit?
Correct.
And then behind that, is that your private lanai area that's fenced in?
Yes, it is.
And is that the area you went to?
Yes.
Going to Exhibit 14, sorry. Exhibit 14, is this now looking dead on at your lanai area that's gated?
Yes, it is.
And you can still see the news media, for the record, in the right of the photo behind the yellow crime scene tape?
Yes.
And this would have been how your condominium appeared the day after or the days after while the crime scene was processed, right?
Yes.
Were you able to enter the area, the gated area, the wood gated area?
Yes, I went through that area. And
all right, I'm going to go step by step. So on entering that area, was the gate locked or unlocked?
It was unlocked.
Was the gate open or shut?
It was open.
So you could just push it and it would open at that point? Is that the way you usually left it, or did you usually leave it shut?
No, it was usually shut and very hard to open.
Okay, so you push open the gate. What do you see next or of significance?
I see my sliding glass door open.
How can you tell it's open?
Because the verticals were blowing through it.
I'm showing you Exhibit 15. Does that show the verticals?
Correct.
And was the sliding glass door that's straight on from the viewpoint of this photo, not the one to the right, was that open when you entered the lanai or porch area behind your unit?
Yes, it was open just like that.
And what did you do then? Or what did you think when you found that open?
When I first saw it open, I thought maybe Lisa, because she had a cat. And I had a cat. So I thought maybe she opened that door. Because where I lived, there was a lot of elderly people, and I thought she opened the door and left it open so her cat could come in and out.
Now, when you left the condominium around 4:11 p.m. on May 9th, 1990, can you tell us how you left the condominium as far as the lights on and things on or off?
I had the light There was a lamp on the table by the front door that you could dim it. Had 3 different things, so I left it on for light, but the porch light was on.
And all of the other lights in the downstairs of the unit, were they on or off?
They were off when I left.
And was the upstairs, were there any lights left on upstairs that you remember?
Not when I left.
They were all off also?
Yes.
Is this the other part of the condominium, the lanai and the porch behind your unit in Exhibit 16 that I have on the screen?
That is.
The window there goes to what part of your condominium?
The kitchen.
So going back to 15, in relation to 15, 16 is just to the left of that.
Correct.
Did you enter your unit or your condominium at that point?
I did enter through that open slider.
And going to Exhibit 17, does this show the other sliding glass doors?
Yes.
And were they, when you came to this point on May 10th around 4:15 or so, were those 2 sliding doors, were they closed?
They were closed.
Moving to Exhibit 18, does that show the gate that you went through?
Yes, it does.
I want to stop at Exhibit 19 for a minute. Do you recognize this as a floor plan of your unit?
Yes, I do.
That is Exhibit 19 from the photos. And this Exhibit 19 is the same as what's being shown on the screen, right?
Correct.
I'm going to let you refer to that as I up at the television. Okay. Does this floor plan accurately describe the setup of your 2-story condominium in May of 1990?
Yes, it does.
And in the center of this is the patio. It's labeled patio gate and patio. Is that the location where the patio gate and patio were?
Yes.
The ones that we were just talking about, you going through to enter the condominium that night?
Yes.
So the parking area you previously described would then be on the right side of this photo, correct?
Yes.
In relation to the front door, right?
Yes.
And then you have to walk down this path towards your front door to go check, to try to get in, right?
Right.
And this is the front door, what's labeled here is the accurate location.
It is.
Found locked both the deadbolt and the bottom knob.
Yes.
When you entered your front door, is the staircase right ahead of you?
The staircase when you came in my front door.
All right, let's get a break. We'll get you back into the courtroom with more testimony right after this.
I started hearing these stories about murder and stuff.
We have about 8 minutes left. About 8 minutes left. I think Court TV cut out Cross really makes me angry. Notes for the future, y'all. Notes for the future. We live.
I can't imagine how hard that is for her to have to sit there and go over all the details of everything.
Yeah, especially having relived it for 30 years over and over and over again. So all right, let's see here. I really don't think this is going to be the whole thing, but okay. Where is the beginning of this? All right. Okay. Our audio is glitchy. Oh, is it better? You said never mind after that. All right.
It's hard to, kind of like my eyes split. I could see Lisa, but then I saw Robin, and I went to Robin.
Do you think you saw Lisa first?
I do.
And does this photograph, Exhibit 44, depict what your view would have been from standing near that sleeping bag in the hallway into Lisa's room?
Yes.
Did you enter Lisa's room at that time?
I did not.
At any time that morning before the police arrived or even after the police arrived, did you enter Lisa's room?
I did not.
And you were kind of at the same time just describing how you were also looking into the master bedroom and you could see Robin.
I could see Robin.
And where could you see her in the master bedroom?
Robin was at the floor of my bed, more underneath the front of my bed, and her hands were up.
All right, I'm going to slow you down just so we can stay with the photographs here. As you're looking into Lisa's room, and do you see her nude body on the waterbed?
I do.
Do you call out to her or anything?
When I saw Robin, I started calling out for Lisa.
Did she respond?
No.
Now, on the bed with her are boxes and items, personal items, different things. When you left that evening, were those things strewn across the bed like that?
No.
Was she in bed when you left that evening?
Yes, she was.
She under the covers?
Yes, she was.
Okay, I'm going to go to the next exhibit. Exhibit 45, would that show the view if you were standing by the sleeping bag in the hallway that's on the sleeping bag that's on the floor in the hallway into your master bedroom?
Yes, it does.
From this point, can you see the bed you were talking about?
You can't see it in this picture, no.
And as you take a step forward into the door, will you see the foot of the bed?
Yes.
I'm going to go to Exhibit 46 and ask you about that next, okay? Is this the area that you found Robin Cornell in?
Yes.
Was she in that position when you found her?
No, she was not.
Can you describe for the jurors the position that you found her in?
She was underneath the seat at the foot of that bed.
Underneath what?
Underneath the seat at the foot of that bed.
Or the railing there that comes out?
Yes, right there in the front.
Okay.
Her head was farther in there. Her hands were up.
When you say her head was farther in, is that closer to where the sneakers are?
Yes.
And how were her hands?
Her hands were up like this, like she was just laying on her stomach.
Please describe for the court reporter how the witness is demonstrating with her hands.
I'm sorry.
That's why I'm going to go slow.
I'm sorry.
So her head, you said, was
don't apologize,
near
Mama.
the foot of the rail of the bottom of the
Correct.
waterbed, right?
Where those shoes?
Yeah. And how was her face positioned?
It was down. Her head was down, like she was on her face.
And was she on her back or was she on her
She was on her stomach.
And how were her hands, which you described with your arms there?
They were like if she was laying on her stomach with her head down.
So with the left and right arm, are you describing them to her side?
Right towards the bed. Like her head was here and then her arms were like out.
And on the right arm was on the right side, the left arm was on the left side.
Correct.
On either side of her head, her hands would be.
Yes.
Okay, is that what you've described for the record? I have to describe that so there's no record of what you're showing with your hands.
Her arms were on both sides of her head while she laid on her stomach.
Okay, was her stomach on the carpeting then?
I'm sorry, her arms were.
I'm sorry.
Her arms were on each side of her head, just as if she was laying flat on her stomach.
And was her stomach on the carpeting?
No.
What was her stomach on?
There was a rolled up bed pillow underneath her abdomen.
And so how was her rear and her legs positioned?
They were facing me when I walked in the room.
She would still be in the same general direction she is in the photograph, right?
No.
A little bit more towards what?
A little bit more towards where you see the phone on the floor.
What would have been close to the phone?
Pardon?
Head or
her arms would have been close.
Were her feet pointed towards the front door or the room?
Her feet were pointed towards the door. I mean, straight out. There's a weight bench in that room. So if you showed that picture of the weight bench, she was.
All right, before we get there, though, I'm just asking if the positioning of her body, which would be horizontal to the waterbed, was the same, or was she a little bit more on an angle one way or the other?
Like, this is the waterbed. She was like this.
Like, you're going to have to describe that for the record. So what I want to use, like, if you use the rail of the waterbed, which is almost horizontal, but a little bit from up, down to up on the photograph, and she's in this.
Jan Cornell Bautista on the stand talking.
Oh, and then they get back into this.
Experts, it depends
All right.
on the.
Well, next tomorrow, Brandi, we're going to talk about tomorrow. Because I know you're doing the morning time.
Well, I don't know because it's just tomorrow's just jury selection.
Oh, that's right. Oh, okay, right. Tomorrow would probably be 8:45, and then I think I am recording for a while for the other bajillion pods that I have going on. But for day 2, we talk about the witness. One of the witnesses is the victim's boyfriend, Lisa's boyfriend, and then there's the 2016 police interrogation of the defendant. And then we have a video from the attorneys who out of the view of jury allege evidence tampering, because I feel like that's probably all they have. And anything in between, I will fill in for you all. We'll fill in for you all, or Brandi will fill in for you all tomorrow specifically. This is why night court is probably going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Marla, it's on Court TV, but what we've watched tonight is literally all they're giving us from the trial of day 1. So we're watching as much as we possibly can. Oh, well, everybody, thanks for sticking it out with us. Brandi, did you want to give a little update on Mr. Anderson?
Oh, yes. So I know that that's one of the trials that we had followed it kind of before all of this started, but it's the Zachariah Anderson trial. So for those of you who aren't familiar with it, I did a bunch of recap videos on it. Those are all on the channel. I kind of took the 8-hour court day and condensed it into about 20-minute recap videos, hitting all the major parts. But Cliff's Notes version, Zachariah Anderson is known as the crazy stalker ex-boyfriend or ex-husband. He and his ex, Sadie Beecham, have a daughter. They had split up. He was already dating somebody else for about a year off and on, but he was still obsessed with Sadie. She decided to finally move on, so she started dating somebody. They had not been dating very long, and Zachariah was basically busted putting trackers in her car and trying to, he followed her, and he was pulling up information about, her new love interest. His name is Junior. He ended up getting convicted for the murder of Junior, even though they never found the body because there was blood all in his in Junior's apartment. And then the carpet in the back of Zach's van just all of a sudden was cut out, and because that's not suspicious at all. They had a burn pit in his yard where clothes that he had been wearing in bleach bottles and things like that were found as he was burning them in the rain. And he had DNA, a tiny, tiny little drop of DNA in the back of his van that matched the DNA of Junior. There are 3 experts that say that they believe it was blood, but they could not test it for both DNA and being blood. So obviously they go with the DNA. So he was convicted. He said he still maintains he's innocent. So they had his sentencing with Judge Schroeder. What was that, yesterday? The day before?
I think it was yesterday.
Okay. Everything's running together.
Well, and the judge talked for so long, it felt like 5 days. So
it did. He Lord bless his heart. Judge Schroeder, he likes to tell stories. So basically, the actual charges against him were stalking Sadie, stalking Junior, and murder of Junior, and hiding a corpse. And he was found guilty on all counts. And basically, the way that they did his sentencing yesterday was for the stalking, he gets 2 years for each of those. And these are all consecutive, not concurrent. So these are back to back. So he gets 2 years for both of the stalking. He gets 6 years for the hiding a corpse, and he gets a life sentence, which in Wisconsin is 40 years. So, and those are all concurrent. So, or I'm sorry, consecutive. So by the time he is eligible or is able to be released, he will be, if he makes it that long, he will be like 90 or something. So basically he found out that he will spend the rest of his life in jail. It was actually he's very animated with his expressions. He is not one that is going to hide anything. If you remember following anything, or if you followed anything with this, then you'll remember he's the one who, he would shake his head and he would mouth off and be like, no, I didn't say that, never happened. And, like doing this kind of stuff. Judge Schroeder actually called him out on it yesterday, because when he was, Judge Schroeder was giving him his, sentencing, he said something about, this was such a horrible thing that you've done. And he's still saying, that he's innocent. So he's shaking his head. And Judge Schroeder was like, you can wag your head all you want to. And I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
But yeah, he called him out on it. And he's very animated. He's the one who, they also said, they showed the clip where, he was doing like this, like he was telling his daughter when she was on the stand, basically, don't say anything, keep your mouth closed. You could see him like,
yeah.
So
it was fascinating to me that he's instead of saying that he was not guilty, he said, I'm not guilty, but I'm not guilty of this murder. It was really, the way he worded it was fascinating and probably should be studied. So
yeah. And
it was interesting.
They did not let his family speak.
No.
They did allow for the victim impact statements before sentencing, but they, his brother continues to say he's innocent. I disagree. I would have, with all of the circumstantial evidence, I believed he did it, but it's the DNA that just like was beyond reasonable doubt for me. There were there's no logical explanation for this guy who he's supposedly never met, for his blood to be in his car, in the back of his car, where the carpet is now cut out and he's burning his clothes. And of course, there's always the Walmart murder aisle. There's video of him going right after everything to the Walmart murder aisle and getting all of his, supplies and all that. So it's just not, to me, the DNA is what really did it. But
yeah.
yeah.
And
Sorry, and he used his daughter to help stalk. Yes, I see this comment. Yes, he used her to help stalk, which was awful.
What got me in the was, oh yeah, sorry, somebody said it in the chat. What's fascinating is just the dynamic between the attorney and him, and like for real, and the fact that she was willing to be like, all right, well, his family's not there, so I'll talk about him and just praise him, and you know what? Okay, but also, is that your spot? I mean, I don't think that's her role per se. I don't think that's something that typically happens. I understand that his family didn't get to, and maybe they should have, and maybe they will bring that up later on. But whoa, she was all into Mr. Man Bun. Everything, all the nonverbals were screaming into Mr. Man Bun. So
you know what drives me crazy when she looks at him, like she's like, that drives me nuts. I'm like, bro, he's on trial for, you know, murdering this guy, and I get it, innocent until, you know, proven guilty in a court of law. He was proven guilty in a court of law, and there was DNA in there. I can't I can't, but the way that and I get frustrated because, you know, I think that there aren't a lot of, like, you know, trials that we watch that have the really powerful women attorneys that we have been able to see recently. You know, we got to see Lindsay Blake, who, you know, prosecuting attorney, just did a fantastic job. I cannot stand a lot of the things that Nicole Mueller has done. I did not like the way that she questioned their daughter when she was on the stand. But I will say this, she is controversial. But if I were going to have an attorney advocating for me, she will advocate. She does do that. She advocates for him. But I am not personally a fan of the way she looks, like they're, like you said, like the nonverbal cues, like the way that it seems so inappropriate, and the way they like googly eye each other and stuff. I don't like it. I think it's inappropriate. I think it's not the right time or place. They need to save that crap for when families aren't looking.
Super inappropriate?
It is super inappropriate.
Frankie, yes. I don't think that that's as unpopular an opinion as you think it is. I was not a huge fan of them either. There were a lot of issues there, and he got up all in my grill on a regular basis.
Yeah, there were definitely problems, and that is one of the things that I've heard a lot. And, you know, I wasn't a huge fan of the prosecution either, but my biggest thing with that case is not one side or the other. It's the actual evidence that they presented, because as different as some of their stuff was, and as, you know, sketchy as some of it had seemed at times and whatever, I still, for me, I know I keep going back to the DNA, but that DNA and like the, you know, just all of the evidence and stuff, that's not something that can be, you know, twisted to make it seem like something else. It's dude's DNA. Like there's no way around that. Yeah. It did the first time.
That's right. It did, didn't it?
Yeah, it did the first time. And
that feels like years ago, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
That guy.
And Letitia, the super inappropriate like snuggle moment between her and Boots, or backpack, not Boots. Sorry, Boots.
Man, I'm telling you what. I mean, at least she has. I don't know. I got nothing. There's nothing I could say that would be appropriate. Super inappropriate.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, we are gonna call it right after midnight, which is early.
Yes.
But
yes,
that's okay. We appreciate you all, and thanks for hanging in there with us with this whole, you know, CTV situation.
Yes, and tomorrow is we're going play by ear. Tomorrow is supposed to be the day that my new internet is done on the 5th floor. So hopefully there will be no streaming issues tomorrow, since Brother Brewmeister will not be with us. So we're going to wing it. We're going to see how it goes. Hopefully this is the start of a new era. New internet. Oh, let's hope.
New internet. Yeah.
Oh, look. Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. And I'm glad I was able to take you back to a movie you didn't remember that you saw, but you probably did see, with The Gray Mouse Detective.
There you go.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, Lindsay, just get it when you can.
Yeah.
Jury duty doesn't matter to you, apparently. There's reporting times for a reason. I'm just joking. We're glad you were able to make it.
Replay crew.
All right, y'all. I appreciate it so much. And thank you for another great night. And thank you for all the gifted memberships and all of the chatting and all of the love and all of the support. We appreciate you so much more than y'all even know. We really do.
Mm-hmm.
I have a rep. I want to go watch it. You have no idea. No idea. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for reporting to jury duty. We will see y'all tomorrow.
Yes. And as Mr. Rogers said, look for the helpers. Take care of yourselves. Take care of others. Smile. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Night.